Welcome back, everybody, to the Collegiate Finals. It's TESPA season once again, and it is December 2017. And to conclude the year, we're giving out $50,000 in scholarships. And it's now time for the grand finale. The stage has been set between Texas Tech and Colorado University. My name is Frodan. I am joined by Brian Kibler, and this is it. The last best of 11, weeks long of preseason, regular season, regional playoffs, all the way to the national championship bracket. And we now have these final two teams, and I would say that it was interesting upset on both sides because their opposing team had a lot of accolades from tournaments in past, but these are the teams that people weren't exactly expecting much from at the beginning of the day, let alone the tournament.
And they brought some really interesting strategies. I mean, in the last match, we even saw the King Togwaggle Warrior, which I still don't understand.
Yes.
It won a game, and I still don't know how it works. The opposing player just conceded. I want to see it happen. I don't get it.
I think it won by drawing the 26 other cards. Well, that wasn't King Togwaggle and the combo. Here's a little preview of all the classes that we're going to be seeing and the way it's formatted. But once again, for people who aren't familiar with how the match will proceed, we have all 9 classes represented across 3 players who have to select them through unique choices, and we'll be playing in a specific order as you see from top to bottom. So No Fool will be playing Flame, Tasty Nacho, will be playing against Ziphos, and Cow will be playing against Tiny Fat Sheep. However, you cannot play a deck more than once unless you have played every single deck.
Yeah, and once a player loses 2 games, that player is eliminated, and then they will play against a different player on the opposing teams, and, well, they're gone.
That's right. And we'll continue to proceed until the last player standing is there, whether it's player or players. Texas Tech, of course, is represented by No Foolin', Tasty Nacho, and Cowboys, each with a different background in their studies. However, what brings them together is not only Hearthstone, but also their history playing together. They are middle school friends. So even before high school, secondary school, they were playing together, a bunch of sports, hanging out, and now they're here on the grand final stage playing for $50,000 total. And, we'll see how they're going to be able to utilize that break. Because the thing is, you can watch the other teams during the break. I wonder how they're going to react to University of Colorado Boulder's decks.
Well, University of Colorado Boulder brought some of the strangest decks we've seen, including that King Togwaggle Warrior, represented by Flame, Ziphos, and Tiny Fat Sheep. They don't have quite the same lifelong friendship the other players have. They joined together after meeting through their esports club and chose to play together because they thought, well, we're the best here.
That's right. And they do have a pretty fond enjoyment of card games and apparently bear hat cosplays. It's cold in Colorado, and we're not going to lie, sometimes it's really chilly.
They're in California. They're here in Irvine.
True, but to represent Colorado's spirit.
Fair enough.
Where right now it is very much in the negative degrees. I would assume so. I spent a New Year's in Denver a couple of years back, and it was very, very nice, and I loved the mountains, but it was also super cold, and I missed California.
I was playing in a tournament in Denver right after New Year's once, and thought I would have to cut open a tauntaun to stay alive. Just snow free.
That's right. It was like open up a camel and just put yourself on the inside like in Star Wars. Our first match, of course, is going to be one of the 3 classes that you see on your screen. So we have Hunter, Druid, and Paladin available for Texas Tech, and then we have Rogue, Warlock, and Druid. And we've been seeing all kinds of archetypes across these classes. Even within, Hunter, for example, there's definitely a lot of archetypes available, but that is the one where we've seen the least innovation. Versus Druid has aggro versus Jade. There's also a big ramp Druid available. Warlock has seen Zoo Warlock, Control Warlock, and Rogue is pretty much tempo Rogue, although there is still some interesting things that Rogue can be experimented with. And I think the big thing is, now that we've narrowed down the deck lists, how will both teams adapt, if any, to their deck selections in the very first game?
It will be the Druid versus the Warlock, and we see right away it is the Zoo Warlock for Colorado and the Aggro Druid for Texas Tech. So this will be fast and furious, especially with that hand from the Druid. It is turn 1 Raven, turn 2 Blood Cell, bringing out patches, unless you draw it, into that Mark of the Lotus. So powerful, powerful opening on the hand of Texas Tech.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's nothing, it's not too shabby of a hand over for Colorado, as they have double Corridor Creeper and the Vulgar Homunculus, so they can trade off a couple minions. They can fight back for tempo through very cheap 5/5s. Cobalt Librarian right off the top. That's exactly what you want to be seeing. That draw was massive.
Something to do with turn 1 was really important for Colorado here. They would have been left with an empty turn 1 against a very powerful opening turn 1 and 2 from Texas Tech here. But this is still going to look pretty good for Texas Tech. They can take the trade if they do go for the play of Corsair into Mark of the Lotus. They can take the trade or push damage. Taking the value trade will prevent the opposing team from Colorado from attacking into the patches. Yeah, it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. This will preserve more of their board for the potential Power of the Wild next turn if they go for it.
Yeah, or even just South Sea Captain, which is kind of like Power of the Wild.
It's like Power of the Wild for 2 of your minions.
Yeah, it still is pretty effective while playing a 3/3 on board.
Notably, it also prevents the 2-mana discount on Corridor Creeper by actually allowing a full-on trade. Because if the Librarian had just been able to trade into patches, if they'd just gone for damage, that would mean that the Creepers would be down another point in their cost.
At the same time, I don't know if Colorado can afford to let this board run amok. Playing the Vulgar Homunculus gets things softened up and maybe even require 2 trades.
Yeah, this looks to Colorado that like it can hold off a decent amount of this board, but the South Sea Captain means that there's a fairly, or maybe even Savage Roar. Savage Roar... Savage Roar allows them to use just the Bloodcell Corsair to take down the Vulgar Homunculus, and they get to push 9, 10, 11 damage.
Yeah.
Playing the South Sea Captain gets another body in the board. They end up spending more of their damage going into the Vulgar Homunculus, but set up for next turn better. They decided they want to preserve their ability to push for more damage the next turn, and frankly, Savage Roar gets better the more minions you have.
Yeah, I think it does everything they want to do, just like you said. Savage Roar plays around the Corridor Creeper better. They can't play it yet. Now, if you're Colorado, you're going to have to get a little risky here. You have a Soulfire to help bring you back with this Demon Fire. Shutting down the Beast, so that way Market Yashiraj can't land on anything. And what will this Soulfire throw away from the hand? They would love to throw away the coin, I think.
1 Creeper down.
Not the end of the world, considering that they still have another Corridor Creeper. Maybe Texas Tech gets a little bit more bold because they feel like 1 Corridor Creeper's out.
Scalebane, one of the weak draws here for Texas Tech. It's a little bit slow. They can use Power of the Wild to push for more damage right away, or just go a little bit wider on the board by making a Panther.
Yeah. Considering that my opponent's still holding the coin, I'm going to put my opponent on coin Doomguard because there's almost no reason not to hold it, or at least coin into a Despicable Dreadlord. Sorry, I was searching for the name.
Yeah.
So I do want to position myself as best I can for either of those scenarios, and I think that it both involves playing Power of the Wild. It's just a 3/2 Panther.
It also makes your Savage Roar better. If you attack for 5 damage total this turn, you put your opponent down to 16, play your Power of the Wild, and then you have 8 points just from Savage Roar alone, plus 7... 8. You actually have lethal damage next turn.
Oh, really?
Power of the Wild into Savage Roar if your opponent doesn't kill a minion. Yeah, you push them down to 16 here, and then, 8 plus 8.
After Colorado, well, let's first see what we draw. Okay. Now, you do have an alternative to the coin Doomguard, even though Doomguard still is pretty good on this board. And almost anything that you keep, I am okay with. If you keep Soulfire, Corridor Creeper, or the Voidwalker.
Coin Doomguard, though, does throw away so many of your resources. You lose the Corridor Creeper that you've been holding since the opening hand to try and discount here.
Okay, true.
You could Corridor Creeper into Soulfire, and then you have only a 1 in 3 that you lose your Doomguard. You still kill a minion. You end up with a similarly sized minion on the board compared to if you had coined out your Doomguard and lost even more resources.
What about a risky halfway play where you Soulfire first and then react to whatever you discard, maybe get a cheap Corridor Creeper?
I like this from Colorado here. They lose their coin. That's the perfect discard.
Yeah.
Galaka Crawler is not what they are looking for here, so With the minion removed, Savage Roar is no longer lethal. Cobalt Scalebane does allow them to generate a threat that's big enough to trade with a Creeper here.
Right.
And they still push 4 damage, putting Colorado down to just 11. But that Doomguard surviving the discard from Soulfire does mean... Oh, discarding the second Doomguard is unfortunate, but having saved the Doomguard from discard the previous turn, they can Doomguard into the Cobalt Scalebane and take down one of the pirates. Probably value trade into the Corsair. They leave themselves... that's actually pretty dangerous. But it does leave them with a much stronger board overall. So I think that the Doomguard into the Scalebane is 100% happening. The question is whether they respect the damage from patches or want to try and take a value trade here. They will be left with 7 life. A single Savage Roar is not lethal.
I do feel like you're going to have to life tap, and by letting patches stay on the board, you're giving up a card.
The problem is that if you don't value trade, then your opponent just can trade with your Doomguard with their last minion, and you have nothing.
And develop.
So then your opponent just has a bunch of cards against your nothing on board, and yes, you've preserved your life.
Okay, I can buy it. I can buy it.
But they have 3 cards against 12 life, and they have the initiative on the board entirely.
How awkward is this, by the way? The fact that Galactic Crawler can't come down unless you kill your own patches.
It's true. It is something that rarely comes up. Usually you don't have a 5-power patches that's so terrified to lose.
I mean, you also can trade and take it slow. You can trade and then play Galactic Crawler and Druid the Swarm.
You could even roar. Use your face to kill Doomguard, hit your opponent for 7, and play Druid of the Swarm to protect your patches and try and get lethal damage the next turn.
I like that.
So, because if you're trading here, you're trading against an opponent who still has 12 life and life tap. You have seen both Doomguards used, so there's not necessarily that many good immediate board impacting options available, but...
I liked your play better. They end up going for the trade. They're going a little bit safe because they realize that their opponent's weak, but in the end, I think I would have favored something like what you did, because cutting down your opponent's life means that they have less cards to play with in general.
You give them a 1-turn window to draw something. I mean, granted, they only have to draw something that kills a 1 health patches or a taunt.
And look, they have more cards that also deal damage to themselves.
It's true.
Which would have set yourself up for even just a hero power lethal. Granted that this had taunt, but if they could get past it, it would have been problematic. I mean, we life tap every time here in this position. Just play everything. Kill the beast. Or kill the poisonous spider, excuse me, they're both beasts.
Captain doesn't do much here, and now we're at the point where Colorado is at extremely low life, but they have 2 cards a turn, at least for a couple turns, from life tab.
Right. And if they can land Bone Mirror one time, then that could be just a commanding board position that they don't lose from until Texas Tech somehow is able to get past their taunts, or if they have direct damage in their deck.
And if Texas Tech decides to use their Roar right now to punch past this Vulgar Homunculus, they can't both use their hero power to take down the Imp as well and play South Sea Captain.
So they go for the Savage Roar, and they're going to clear everything, trying to not lose to Bone Mirror, I guess?
This is trying to play around the possibility of a Bone Mirror, as well as protect their Galactic Crawler. Oh, the Dreadlord is huge here, though.
No
life. I actually dislike the no life tap here from Colorado. They're still going to have to win the game against the draws from Texas Tech here.
Right.
And I think they're going to want more cards.
Right.
Just drawing 1 card per turn here, I don't feel like is going to do it.
They go down if they life tap.
They can life tap once.
5.
They can, I think they have the opportunity to life tap once there.
Right.
Because every turn they're at least taking a damage from the hero power from Texas Tech. So getting themselves closer to a Bone Mare, closer to Serenade Changang, something that protects them from that hero power,
right.
They have to find that over turns or else they're going to lose.
Right, and also, most importantly, find a way to win, which is Blood River
right.
Gul'dan.
So I feel like you have the window to use the hero power once, and I think you should use it that turn because your opponent's the least likely to be able to kill your your Dreadlord, and you are very likely to have it alive to get the Bone Mare down if you do find that. Oh. And I like this too, given the situation. There's Gul'dan.
They need 2 more turns to survive, so maybe they don't tap again.
Well, now they don't tap because now they have found Gul'dan, I think. But at the same time, no, they're going to die if they don't tap. If they just attack into deckhand, or rather into captain, then their Dreadlord gets killed, and they just get attacked for 2.
Put them to 5, and they pick up a 3 attack minion.
3.
Yeah. So if they pick up a 2 attack minion,
and they don't draw a taunt,
they die. Because they'll set them down to 5, and then they have 3 the following turn. And there's a lot of ways for Druid to pick up those damage, either through just minions or Mark of Yashiraj or something along those lines.
Well, there's 2 damage. So this, they clear off the Dreadlord. So now Colorado needs to draw a taunt.
Right. Or they
turn.
need to tap into a taunt.
And this is still a window. If they had tapped the previous turn,
yes, they'd
still get another card here. It's Captain.
They could have tapped twice, actually.
If they tap now, and say they tap now and draw Bone Mare.
Wait, do they have patches in their deck?
I think they do. Oh. They do have patches left. Oh, wow. That exactly keeps them alive.
Okay.
It's rare that you get this late in the game and patches start, but there's Mark of the Lotus. Ooh. And that's going to do it. That was a nail-biter of a game. 1 turn away from Gul'dan coming down. And carefully dragging. We don't want to fireball our own face here or anything like that.
Yeah. Game number 1 goes to Texas Tech, barely out-muscling the Warlock. Even though they were at a really high life total, it was very easy for them to get locked out of the game if Blood Reaver Gul'dan dropped down. There was 2 Vulgar Homunculi that died, and then there was a Despicable Dreadlord. There's almost no chance that they'd come back from that.
Yeah, and that was a pretty enormous swing toward the end of the game there, where I mean, it didn't. Well, I'd say pretty enormous swing. It was actually just this game of inches, really. When they find the Dreadlord they need, it's like, okay, well, we drew a Firefly. It's like, oh god, Firefly. That's
just
Captain. No.
Right, like,
every
they need
single
2 damage. They drew 2 1 attack.
And there were a number of decisions that either team might have made differently. There was the opportunity for Texas Tech to push damage with the Roar that may or may not have worked out, given how things lined up with the draws after that. And then whether or not Colorado chose to tap. Maybe their next card was something that could have kept them alive.
Yeah, that's true. But we'll have to look forward instead of looking back, as Ziphos will now take up against Tasty Nacho, as Shaman, Warrior, Mage. Definitely a more interesting set of 3 there. And Ziphos has the Hunter, Priest, and Mage. Now, Priest has been underperforming today relative to expectations, but it's still a very solid pick. And I do feel like you can't go wrong with it. But at the same time, it seems like Texas Tech is favoring playing Mage whenever given the opportunity when it comes to Tasty Nacho's lineup. So if you anticipate your opponent playing Mage, will that change up your decision at all? Will you instead play Hunter, perhaps?
It's possible for sure. I definitely think the Priest is relatively vulnerable to the Mage because the threat of the early game aggression, when you're still trying to get set up, the threat of Aluneth is definitely very dangerous. So maybe something, if you do anticipate Mage coming out, that you want to try to avoid. And there is the Mage, and there's the Hunter. So Colorado looks like they are 1 step ahead in the pick here.
Yeah, I like the mind games here coming up from Colorado, kind of putting Texas Tech on a very predictable choice. And that's largely because of the grouping, right? You have Shaman, Warrior, and Mage. So what feels like the best against the potential 3 that you have? And you put yourself in a position where you kind of want to play Mage. At the same time, maybe Texas Tech doesn't even care, because Secret Mage is just that dang powerful sometimes. Not what you want to see if you're Colorado. Patches in the opening hand with the South Sea Captain, but they still draw the Dire Maul turn 1. If they pick up Crackling Razor Maul, which they threw back, then I guess it's all gravy.
Oh, well, there is a better Dire Maul as Mana Worm comes to the hand for Texas Tech here. And a very powerful opener on that side as well. So looks like Colorado is going to need to pick up some help. Their draw is a little bit awkward. no two mana play outside of Patches. Oof. Another cheap pirate, no weapon to go along with the deckhand, and those are both very vulnerable to just the hero power from Texas Tech.
Yeah, but I mean, just you kind of mentioned that this powerful opener. This is like pretty much the nuts for the mage. They have Mana Worm, Archaeologist, Kirin Free Secret, and to double Medusa Valley on 4, like, and to coin Alaneth. Are you serious?
Well, I mean, if you have the time, that is definitely an extremely powerful hand. But this play from Colorado here, I really like. By attacking into the Mana Worm with the Dire Mole and playing both pirates, they essentially force the hand of Texas Tech here to ping or run into the potential of South Sea Captain buffing here. And yeah, they're actually going to get value from this Captain. They're going to be rewarded for that play. Because the Mana Worm can take out Patches, but then Captain can come down and buff up the deckhand, so Colorado can actually get a pretty good board clear.
Yeah.
No, it's actually either way. It looks like they're going to go with the trade into the deckhand. Yeah, they could try and value trade the Patches. That means that South Sea deckhand can come, or rather South Sea Captain can come down and allow both minions to trade and keep the Dire Mole alive. Texas Tech sees, okay, if we play this way, the Captain does mean that we're in trouble here, so they deduce that possibility, and now the Captain only allows the trade into the Archaeologist with both minions.
If you anticipate a Kirin Mage,
to shoot.
I guess, because we're playing South Sea Captain for sure, but I guess if you anticipate Kirin Mage, this is your opportunity to push 3 damage instead of instead of actually trading at this point. And I think as Hunter, you have to actually start thinking about how you push damage. Even though it's turn 3 and it's 29 versus 30 health, I think it's going to come down to that.
Yeah, definitely in the position of the Hunter in this matchup, knowing that your opponent, the opponent's list, they have gotten information about what the other players were playing at this point.
Nice plays.
Yeah, Smork.
I know it might seem very subtle, but I mean, Hunter, I feel like, is going to get blown out this game, as they have a high chance just because of how powerful the mage hand is. But if they were to have a chance, it's because Colorado made plays like that. They just did. So Texas Tech has the Kirin Mage all set up and ready to go. And it's really important they do so that they can put the valets the next turn. The only problem is the valets might not have an action if a minion pops the explosive runes, and so right now they're reevaluating if they want to use this frostbolt that they drew instead. And it looks like they do, so that way they can stick the Archaeologist onto the board.
So this is an opportunity for flanking strike, which is one of the stronger cards for Hunter from the new set. Definitely puts Texas Tech on the back foot, allowing both removal and generation of a minion here. Ooh, that's a very good draw, though, from Texas Tech. I was thinking that they would actually Kirin Mage, and they can still do that. They can still Kirin Mage coin if they want, but now they can actually Cabal Lackey explosive rune and double valet if they want.
Yeah.
Or just use one valet and save the coin to potentially coin out Aluneth or something else later turns. Because right now there's just the Patches remaining in play. If you Lackey, Rune, Medivh's Valet, you can float the mana there.
We have many.
Now they're going to go with the coin and get the bigger board right now rather than using the Lackey. So this was the plays available to them to turn 4. They're going to stick with it.
Excuse me.
Okay.
You are on.
This has really bad potential to strand the other valet, but I do think that in the end, having this kind of board is better on average against what Hunter can do.
And this is an awkward position for Colorado. Yeah, they're going to go ahead and play deckhand. Boom, blows up, take 5 to the face. So they led with that. They would have potentially been able to play Candle Shot and take down the Kirin Mage here. And we're seeing the power of all this early removal from Texas Tech's Mage deck.
Mm-hmm.
It has stranded the Houndmaster. Now it's just a 4/3 for 4 with no ability. All the beasts have died.
Corner Creeper gets drawn, and I believe 3 minions can die, so it should be playable this turn.
There must be a way.
And it looks like they are doing exactly that, favoring to put board position as best they can. Playing Kowalaki is also pretty interesting, but I think just fighting for board tempo is the most important thing against Hunter right now. And Hunter is getting completely overrun. No real cards of substance. This Kano shot's not going to really do much except clean up the board a little bit over the course of 3 turns.
Yeah, really bad spot for Colorado here, just getting dominated on this board. And Hunter, and especially this style of build of Hunter, is not very successful when it falls behind. The cards like Direwolf Alpha, like Houndmaster, even just Kill Command requiring the body on the board in order to be an efficient removal spell. Now they've an empty hand drawing, a single card a turn from the top of their deck.
Yeah.
I don't really see a way out of this, especially now this Aluneth comes down.
Yeah. Again, I don't blame Colorado for the pick. I think this is definitely a deck that has a pretty good game against the Secret Mage. They also are investing into the future of the series. They don't want Priest to. They want Priest to guarantee a win or guarantee the highest percentage chance to win. And if Secret Mage is going to be coming up, they don't want it to be lined up against Tasty Nacho's set. So I can definitely agree, even if this is not working out for them.
Lonely Razor Maw.
Yeah.
He's not doing much crackling. He's just kind of crying.
Yeah, this is looking like a concede soon from Colorado. If not next turn, then
bam.
They might just be dead.
2, Smork, go.
Yeah. You always play for information. I mean, you are playing for $50,000 in scholarships.
We have many.
Oh, this is a pretty good turn.
Yeah, you think so?
Kirin Tor, Secret, Valet, Crystal Runner. Oh, they're not even going to Valet. You've got Aluneth. You got to get every card out there.
Yeah, not bad for 7 mana. 5/5, 4/3.
You really don't need to squeeze in the ping there when you're drawing 3 a turn. You can afford the damage.
Yeah,
they're self-lethal anyway. It doesn't matter. And the Corridor Creeper full retail price comes out. One last candle shot in the face, and that's going to be 2-0 for Texas Tech as they take a win in each of the first 2 matches.
That's right. They were trying to bait the flanking, or not the flanking trade. They were trying to bait the crushing walls, but they even had counterspell up. Texas Tech, 2-0 lead, but we're just getting started in the series. So even though this is a significant lead to start off for our team from the South here, it's important to note that this was also an investment from Colorado into the second half of the series.
Yeah, the fact that each of these decks is locked once you have played it, win or lose, does mean that losing with a weaker deck isn't as bad as winning with a good deck is good in a lot of ways, because you want to try to ensure that you just keep a player alive more than anything.
Yeah, pure upside if the weaker deck's able to snag a win that it shouldn't against a much higher favored deck. Like a lot of times the Secret Mage is supposed to win most of the sets. Paladin's supposed to win against most of its games. Priest's supposed to win. Warlock's supposed to win. And then you have some decks that might be unfavored in certain situations, and then you have them win and snag it up, and it's going to happen. Best of 11s. Very rarely all the favored decks always go the way that they're supposed to.
And we will be moving into Cowboys versus Tiny Fat Sheep. And we see Texas Tech, as did one of the other teams, the Collegiate New Jersey, kind of loaded the 3 top classes into one player. Cowboys lineup is one you might just see in a Conquest tournament.
Yeah.
He's got Tempo Rogue, he's got Warlock, he's got Priest. And Tiny Fat Sheep got some of the more outliers. He's got the Shaman deck and the Warrior deck along with Paladin. So this could potentially be a lopsided affair if just the pure raw numbers are to be taken seriously.
That's right. And that's a huge boon, because right now I mean, obviously being down 0-2 is definitely a bad, but if you're down 0-2 and your opponent's coming into their power spike games where they're power loaded every single one of their strongest classes into one lineup, then you're just going to be fighting from even a bigger deficit as time goes on. So they need to win, and they need to win badly. And this is definitely the kind of curve that can help you get there. Murloc Tidecallers with the Rockpool Hunters. And Cowboys does not really have that great of an opening hand. I might consider tossing everything here.
They keep the Glimmerroot.
Okay, they just want to have something. Hey, Psychic Scream. I think we learned from the previous game we always want to keep that against Murloc Paladin.
It's a pretty important card sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do need to defend yourself in the early game, but those boards that get real big need to be dealt with somehow. And
Yes.
Psychic Scream is a way that can deal with any board.
Whew, Psychic Scream and Shadow Reaper Anduin, so they're covered in the late stages of the game.
Yeah, their concern will be staying alive. And the draw from University of Colorado here does not give them a ton of breathing room, because double Rockpool Hunter with this Tide Caller and a Vilephin Inquisitor, this is a lot of damage very, very quickly.
All right, so this is the point where you sit back and you think how you want to plan your curve here. So this turn, if you want to play Vilephin and the Rock Pool, the next turn you have Hydrologist and Secret, or
I think you just want to Rock Pool here. I don't think that you want to play the Vilephin as well, because you just naturally have Rock Pool plus Vilephin next turn.
Yeah, the curve just gets disrupted too much, I think. Wow, by doing this.
Silence.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
This is going to be a disaster for Colorado. The Silence plus Cabal Talon Priest allows them to take out this Tide Caller and keep a 3 health loot order on the board. So suddenly this extremely explosive opening ends up getting very much stymied.
That was too greedy. I don't think the face damage there was entirely worth it either. Granted, I can understand the logic. Usually you don't want to give your opponent the trade into their card draw. You want them to trade first so that they don't get any benefit from...
It really was the exact combination of talent-free silence that makes that bad.
He needed precisely those 2 cards.
It's the meme. It's the meme in real life.
Yeah.
Because this is the only way it goes wrong to that degree.
Somewhere in a remote city close to Toronto, Crip is sneezing right now. Like, huh? Someone said my name?
The light dims.
That was actually a very fortunate selection from the Glimmerroot there. Can stem the bleeding quite a bit right now for Texas Tech.
Man, I don't even know if it's bleeding anymore. I think they're just winning on.
Well, it would have been the possibility to at least lose the advantage that they have gained.
Right.
And now they actually are just going to maintain this advantage. And when the priest is going into the middle turns of the game against Murloc Paladin and has the board, that is a very bad situation for the Paladin.
They pick Redemption, and I wonder if they want to play it now and try to stick something for the Tarim, or they just want to coin the Spiteful Summoner. There was a scenario where I was thinking, man, if you can play Getaway Kodo and stick a Spiteful Summoner, and then just kind of make it really annoying for your opponent, that'd be cool. But I think Colorado's looking at their hand. They're saying both Sunkeeper Tarim and Bone Mirror synergize way better with Redemption than one card in the Spiteful Summoner and the Getaway Kodo.
Well, they get the Redemption down, looking to preserve some of this board. Ooh, Kazakus is the draw. Secret Agent comes through, finds, I imagine, a Scalebane.
Yeah. Vilephin Inquisitor does not actually synergize very well with a lot of the Priest cards.
Yeah, you lose your hero power. And War Leader is just a 3-cost 3/3. Megasaur, okay. They do have the opportunity to potentially coin out Tarim here. That will allow them to clear up this board where they have fallen behind, and then potentially follow that up with the Spiteful Summoner next turn.
There's this opportunity also to kind of cheese with the Gentle Megasaur. You can coin out the Megasaur after you use your hero power, and then set that up for a Spiteful Summoner. And you have to think about how many adaptations that can really help benefit you in this spot. But you are also coming up on a Dragonfire Potion turn. That could be also very disastrous. I think the Tarim makes the most sense, the safest clear.
Yeah, if you go for the Megasaur here, there's only a couple of good results. There's in fact only one great result, which is Poisonous. Otherwise, you're not even clearing the operative. So this does enable the potential full clear if you want to just kill things. You could push for damage. That does leave Dragonfire able to clear you, or just Pain still able to clear you anyway. Ooh, and then Duskbreaker picked up. Not necessarily great against this particular minion, but potential for a swing against a small board later. This is one of the reasons that we see these different builds of Raza Priest now, including Dragons. Duskbreaker, just such a strong card against the aggressive decks.
right, let's see what's in the pool.
What have you summoned? A call to arms. It is...
Flame me faceless.
My shield for
Oh.
Argus.
Oh. Oh, good positioning at least.
Played around Meteor.
Yeah.
You put your Argus where it's supposed to be, but it didn't work.
Nah, it's bad against crushing walls though, and it's turn 7.
Ooh, good point. Good point.
How good is this Dustbreaker right now? Not that amazing, to be honest.
You could...
Slap down the Scale Bane and just try to fight
We're just-
fire with fire.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, Scale Bane stacking damage on each other is quite the intimidating thing, and also can get way out of control. Coming up on a Bone Mare turn, too.
Well, there is an easy clear here. You can just use the Summoner to take out the 8/4, and even just Peacekeeper, the other Scale Bane, and take it out with your board.
Sure.
It doesn't really get you, anywhere in terms of actual pressure. You're not really developing much more, but it does, clear off the threats that the priest has generated.
Yeah.
You could Bone Mare, but that your Bone Mare minion is just going to end up trading into the big Scale Bane unless you're killing it anyway.
Yeah, not to mention that you're coming up on a Shadow Reaper Anduin turn, so to disrupt it the most, I think the Peacekeeper is. And it is 6 power,
Yeah.
or 8 power plus the hero's power, so 9. You have the Gentle Megasaur scaling. Yeah, this is just a lot better overall, even though it's mana inefficient. It's also the most targets for Dino size to land.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because, there's a Duskbreaker though. We were talking about how you leave a little bit of a board and suddenly you get your board crushed, and there's also a Kazakus.
Yeah, so Priest was already pretty good at single target removal, and they also had some pretty strong AoE and Dragonfire Potion, and then they got even more tools to help them with that. Psychic Scream also is the ultimate answer to both tall and wide boards.
And now got a Bone Mare, Dino Size, and a Gentle Megasaur here, all of which would love to have something on the board to actually buff, but we got nothing. Dustbreaker broke them, swept up the entire board, and going into the late turns of the game with no board against a priest with a board and a full hand.
Take the poisonous option, it's just going to get stolen if they use it. And then the power of like the Alexstrasza tech is that they can just play pretty much as like a control priest. Like in the end, Shadow Reaper Anduin and Raza are great, but the truth is that they just keep diffusing the board situation and just stick one threat against Paladin. They will win the game.
Well, there's a lot of options here still.
Yeah, for note, Texas Tech has picked up the draw 2, deal 5, I believe. So they do actually even have some burst in the hand. Shadow Reaper Anduin comes down, and with Alexstrasza as the possible follow-up here, that is going to be a 3-turn lethal setup for Texas Tech, and this is looking worse and worse by the minute.
There is the hero power into Bone Mare right now, given that your opponent did just play Anduin, which has to be at least somewhat attractive, but there is still the Kazakus Potion, Shadow or Death face with...
Yeah. There's still the other half of the deck that kills everything. There's single target removal, there's AoE, there's Psychic Scream, and then there's the possibility of your opponent just utilizing their hero power efficiently. I've had games that I was just playing earlier today during the break that I had for match number 2, where I was using my hero power to ground people out.
And that is precisely what's happening here.
Texas Tech can almost do no wrong as long as they make sure the board is squeaky clean on their opponent's side every turn, and that they're pushing a little bit of damage. That's all they need to do.
Oh, please take Temperance.
Yes!
Temperance!
They know. They're realizing it.
Do it!
They're right now, it's a total PogChamp moment. You realize you can get away with Temperance. And you have Alexstrasza plus attack in the following turn. Okay, so you play Temperance.
Oh, wrong meme. That's an old meme.
Boo.
We wanted the modern meme.
2014 memes in 2017. Well, Colorado might even just concede. Even if they picked the Temperas, it wouldn't have really mattered because I feel like Colorado's in the spot where they recognize they play anything and it just dies. I think they might try a Hail Mary Dino size, but even then, it's like pretty easy for your opponent to clear just with a couple of hero powers and like 2 cards.
Right. If they have cards in their hand, which they do, not really all that much you can hope to stick on this board.
Yeah. Oh, Temperas is a time dragon, huh? So is Nosdormu.
Yeah.
Maybe they misheard us to take the wrong time dragon.
I mean, that's not the gold dragonflight. It's the bronze dragonflight is the time dragon.
Oh, is it? Okay. I think Tiny Fat Sheep and company are thinking about any possible outs in this spot. I really don't think that there is. They're thinking like, okay, what has to happen for us to win? They've already used their Spiteful Summoner. They have a Dino size right here, and they're going to try to Hail Mary. They're going to say, we hope that they have really expensive cards and that they can't kill us, and this Dino size sticks.
Maybe their opponent Temperas now, and then doesn't kill the Tiny Fin or the Dino-sized guy.
Yeah.
Because that would work. They just attack for 30.
Yeah. Would they have lost if they played Temperas in this spot?
No. Because they would have made a 10-10 and just attacked for 10. That's all they could do.
Even if they had a second Dino size, right?
I mean, they would have played, what? Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to do it. Because Dino size only sets to 10, doesn't get +10/+10 or anything.
Yeah, so let's say they played Temperas, their opponent attacks for 10, hero power,
They wouldn't attack
play
for 10,
another Dino
because they didn't have
size.
anything in play if they just played a Temperas.
Oh, could they have played the previous turn immediately?
Well, no. But I'm saying, like, oh, if they just played it with the 10-10 in play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they would have
They could
survived.
attack for 10 and then play,
Another
a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, if you play Temperas into your opponent's 10 attack minion,
You can
and you don't kill it, you could probably lose, even from this sort of situation.
All right, let's see what Texas Tech chooses to do to try and close this game. Do they have lethal straight up right here? Let's see. 3, 5 plus 5, another 5 is 10. No.
No.
Shadowy thoughts.
15.
I mean, I actually think they want to cast the Psychic Scream this turn. Just send everything to face. Ping Psychic Scream.
I don't. I actually think
Maybe it is.
literally any card they play.
Yeah,
will
like
set up the
as long as they do something that doesn't just kill themselves,
Shadowy thoughts.
they're going to win.
Yes, I think if they play Psychic Scream, they win. They play Alex Straza, they win. They play Cabal Shadow Priest on their opponent's minion, they should win. Holy Fire should win as well. I guess if they knows Dormu, no, they should still win too. Like they can't deal with an 8/8 that easily.
I think even if they just Alex Straza their opponents again next turn after putting them to 4, they might still win.
That would be quite the victory lap. Just to keep healing your opponent and try to see if you can continue this game. Assert dominance.
Found lethal.
There we go.
All right, well, that means that Texas Tech has won all 3 games opening up this series. And while we have been sometimes describing this as a best of 11, it's not quite that. It is, in fact, a last player standing format where if a player loses twice, they are out.
Yes.
And thus their decks are out. So the goal is to eliminate all the opposing team's players. And right now, all of University of Colorado are 1 game away from elimination.
Right, with some of their best decks out and unavailable for use right now. They don't have Warlock or their Paladin decks. However, I've seen crazy comebacks before in a long best of 11 series. I've been casting best of 11s for quite some time now, even back to the Trinity series last week and the months leading up to it. And you never really count out a team or a player until it's truly over.
Texas Tech was, in fact, behind, I believe, 3-1 in the very first round and came back to defeat their opponents, the UCLA. And now they are the ones who are up 3-0 in the finals. Perhaps they will suffer the same fate that they were able to put upon UCLA.
This is pretty scary again for Colorado. If not the fact that they were down 0-3, it's also because they have Rogue, which is a very powerful class, but two classes that can really prey upon it are aggressive Paladin strategies and Hunter. They are capable of pressuring the Rogue enough to the point where Rogue can't ever find footing. So, I actually agree with this a lot from Colorado. I was not even feeling that confident in Rogue. Even though they're down 0-3, they're going to forego one of the top 3 classes in win rate in Hearthstone in the current meta and play instead Aggro Druid, which is a little bit more unproven because of how unsure they are about its current position against their opponent's classes.
This is an interesting hand from Texas Tech. They decide, even with the coin to mulligan the Fincher, because it is just too slow against the explosive draws of Aggro Druid. And, ooh, exploding out the gates with the Dire Mole, the low-key all-star of the new set.
Yeah, exploding in quotation marks. It's just a vanilla 1-3 with a beast tag, I guess.
I mean, it does. The 1-3 is a huge deal here. It stops the Grimscale Oracle from coming down,
I guess.
Unless you give them essentially a free trade.
It's true, but it's just funny that when we think
Boom,
about
one power minion.
Yeah, it's
out
like
of the gates.
When Carry on Grubwick first came out, we're like, oh yeah, look at that power spike of 2-5 beast. And you're like, all right, and then you land Houndmaster on, you're like, this is pretty good.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, back in the day.
You built yourself a nesting rock, but nesting rock didn't exist then, so you didn't even know it.
True.
You were just ahead of your time.
I feel like that is largely the case too. It's kind of like, as the set's released, you realize, oh, this is a combination of a lot of cards that I've seen before, and I know how to use this card. And now Dire Mole is kind of the same exact thing, where it just threatens so much because the 1-3 is so hard to deal with.
Is this really the saddest Grimscale Oracle in history? Not only did he come down in the face of a 1-3 who can immediately eat him, but he didn't buff a Murloc.
Yeah.
He's just like, all right, fine.
He did his job. He came to the hand turn 1.
Is this what I live for? Just being thrown into the maw of a mole? Do you value me so little, sir?
Yeah, actually, this is starting to get way out of hand. Because I think Savage Roar next turn is actually not that bad of a thing for Colorado to help kill whatever comes out here on turn 2. And then that curves pretty decently into either Quarter Creeper or whatever else they draw. I'm kind of scared if I'm Texas Tech.
Well, if I'm Texas Tech, I'm looking at my hand and thinking that this just did not come together. Whew, Mark of Yasharaj, that is the mole's best friend. I think you put it in the Scarab, but it's a big part of the reason why Mole is so powerful in this deck is because being able to play 4 different 1-drops that can be hit with Mark of Yasharaj on 2 makes the deck dramatically more consistent.
Yeah.
Mark of Yasharaj on the Scarab, 3-7. Even after that damage, not within range of the Rallying Blade. There's another Grimscale Oracle, but yeah, it is time to call to arms.
Yeah.
This is the real All-Star Paladin card from the new set. And he finds... All right. That works. Pretty good. Yeah. Certainly pretty good here.
A lot of Murlocs works really well with the Murloc Warleader the following turn. And hey, looks like the chum finally found another buddy.
He found a chum.
Yeah. So we can trade and then play a Quarter Creeper this turn, which seems to be the first thing that I'm thinking about. I'm trying to think about the merits of Savage Roar and clearing even more minions. But without the ability to hero power, I think that play gets a lot weaker.
Yeah, for sure.
Job done.
All right, so the chum into War Leader here. Ooh, finds a creeper as well.
Yeah.
A little slower creeper, though. But chum into War Leader allows the Inquisitor to take out the Scarab and the Rock Pool to kill the Dire Mole.
Yeah, War Leader ends up becoming a 4/4, so then you can challenge the Creeper, which means another 3 minions die. Quarter Creeper comes down for 1 mana plus the Rallying Blade. Rallying Blade can swing, so you should be able to guarantee your free Creeper.
Ooh, not going with the War Leader. Interesting. Okay.
Oh, so this way they get 2 swings out of it by the time they're playing Quarter Creeper. That makes sense.
Yeah. So next turn they can actually play Creeper and War Leader, with the War Leader not being challenged by the Creeper immediately.
Right. It's a little bit weirder if their opponent trades into the 1/2 with the quarter creeper, because then you have to double trade into it. But I guess that's what they want anyways, because they have quarter creeper, and the more minions that die, the better.
I wonder.
They just want to protect their war leader, I guess, the best they can. Double living mana, double scale bane.
Really clunky hand here for Colorado.
Yeah, because the living mana shuts off basically the hand the moment you play it. So do you want to play Scalebane so you can at least get some of these bigger threats out, and then living mana for a little bit higher value, but you're also going up against a wider board, which can destroy you through Gentle Megasaur or the War Leader, which you know your opponent might be holding with buffed Murloc in hand.
And this turn's going to go extremely well for Texas Tech. They have the War Leader. Oh, they have War Leader into Protector into Creeper. They can War Leader the attack each of their minions into the opposing minions, Rallying Blade down. The other minion, Creeper for free, and play Protector if they want to.
And set up for a Sunkeeper Tarim.
Even if you want it, I don't even know if you want a Tarim. You got a 4/4 War Leader and you got a Creeper at that point.
True. Might not even do it.
They can even just Creeper and Hero Power rather than play the Protector, which is better with the Tarim, and they can potentially plan to Protector Tarim on 7, depending on what happens.
True. I also like that.
Yep.
Reporting for duty.
That is a ravenous crawler. Not going to find any food.
I think we're going to live in mana, trying to challenge the board here through a ton of small tree ants. Oh, whoa, that's so awkward.
It is and it isn't, right? Because if you just play double Protector, that absorbs 4 treant hits. So only 2 treants get through. They can kill the War Leader, but you attack for 10 here. You get to make another recruit.
So you trade into the 2 1s.
You could.
But then your opponent, you're also giving your opponent mana too.
Well, I'm actually suggesting you just go face for 10 this turn. Play two Protectors and Hero Power, and then you just leave your opponent on 1 mana. You're absorbing 4 of those treant hits between the 2 Protectors. They only get through for actual damage with 2.
Okay.
And then you can use your recruits to kill off 2 of those. You still have... Yeah, I like this play from are they? No, they're trading in, okay.
The trading makes the most sense because they can use the 1/1 to clean up the following turn.
It is true because the two Divine Shield taunts do mean that...
like Savage Roar isn't a real threat.
Right, Savage Roar is not really doing anything here because of attacking multiple minions. Mostly just smart for 10.
It's actually so annoying. Because according to what you see on board, they just trade their 1/1s.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely bumping the 2/2s. Yeah, I guess the only debate's if you want a Hero Power or not. You can save Galaka Crawler for Mark or Yashiraj, plus you're expecting these treants to die.
And it also means you get to kill the War Leader here by trading in a treant. And not give your opponent an opportunity to protect it with, say, a Bone Mare. Speaking of...
Yeah, the Big Daddy Bone Mare ends up coming into the hand.
I mean, you just Bone Dog them right now with the Corridor Creeper for 9 if you want.
They are destroying any possibility of it. Oh, this was interesting.
I think that this is sort of a nod to the fact.
How?
I think this is a nod to the fact that Tarim sucks most of the time against Aggro Druid. It's actually going to be disadvantageous for you to play Tarim on a lot of different boards because your opponent is going to have a lot of small minions.
True.
So here they restore health in their Corridor Creeper. They can just use Bone Mare to make it big again.
Yeah, except this is like an exception to the rule. Like Druid does have the ability to build a little bit tall minions here, and with the Corridor Creeper, with the Corridor Creeper nerfed to attack, it's not nearly as clean as they'd like it to be.
Yeah, this particular combination of Creeper plus Scalebane does somewhat punish this line of play.
I think they still have Patches in their deck.
I believe that's correct, yes. I believe Patches is still in the deck, so there is the possibility for Captain into Patches. Doesn't really do a ton. You could Mark of Yashiraj it to take out a minion.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Savage Roar as well. I don't know if I like it. I might just trade and then see if I can set up a big board again for Living Mana.
Yeah, it looks like a Living Mana turn. And this is pretty crucial because the fact that it's so late in the game, they still have mana for Savage Roar next turn. Even though they just Living Mana, even if none of their minions die,
right.
Savage Roar is still available and they can push all of that damage.
I would also... I'm still thinking right now if Mark of Yashiraj is worth it. Let's say 2 minions die, so you have 5 2/2s on the board, so it's 10 plus 12 from the Savage Roar. That's 22. That's still enough, so you don't need to Mark of Yashiraj. I think that's it.
Yeah.
There's no real defensive capabilities here from Texas Tech outside of trading, and just like you mentioned, the exact mana
enough
for Savage Roar.
What would Uther do?
Huh, so in a weird way, I think because they played Tarim, well, I don't know if the Tarim would have saved them either in that in later positions as well because of the second Living Mana. It's tough to say because I was thinking like, well, did they like get a little bit too liberal or did they play their taunts too fast? But Aggro Druid with double Living Mana, double Scalebane ended up having enough time to get out both, and I guess that's hard to come back from if you're the Murloc Paladin.
Now.
I'm going to go ahead and make these attempts at reducing the damage with 5 minions on the board plus Savage Roar. It's going to be enough.
Yeah, crucial victory, too, to hold on to this for Colorado. Losing this meant that they also would lose Rogue from their entire lineup, but they finally get onto the board. And Colorado going to begin their comeback up against Texas Tech.
And we were just talking about how Texas Tech was in a really disadvantaged position. They had lost 3 of the first 4 games in their first match, and now it is Colorado who, they are down 3-1, but maybe this is the beginning of their comeback trail.
Yeah, so coming up next for Texas Tech, they have a Shaman Warrior Mage combination, which we talked about. They played Mage first, and then they lost that. But regardless of whether they won or lost, they can't play it. Now they're coming up on another weak point of their lineup, the Shaman and the Mage. What's going to happen if, the Shaman and the Warrior, excuse me. What's going to happen if they have to go up against a really powerful class like Priest, which can be good against both?
It could be tough, but they do have a loss to give in this particular pairing because they did win the first game against Xiphos. So if they do, say, pick their Shaman or pick their Warrior, they can have that loss to give against Priest. There is the Mage as well. So there's a little bit of mind games here of, okay, if we defeat Xiphos here, he's out. So you sort of assume very good chance he's going to bring the Priest because they need to pick up this win right now. So, well, which of their decks do they think is the best against the Priest? It's not really necessarily clear that either of them is very good.
Yeah, the Quest Priest, I think, has the best chance against the Quest Warrior, excuse me, it's been a long day. Up against the Priest might be the best chance that they have, because I am not a big believer in Evolve Shaman against Priest, especially one that has access to a ton of more AoE from the new expansion. In the past, you might be able to cheese them with Doppelgangster Evolve, but now Evolve is even worse. So there's just many factors going against you. Looks like they're going to favor that anyways.
But there's also the consideration of not only what do I think my best matchup is now, but what do I think, if I assume they're playing Priest, I want to have the best combination of matchups between this one and the next one. Because the key is that you want to eliminate that player. Though, of course, if you can eliminate that player while you have both of your lives left, that is even more effective because you have more flexibility in the future games in the series.
So you want your Quest Warrior up against the Hunter by doing this?
That would be the result of this if they do end up losing. Yeah.
Which is certainly interesting too. That
actually seems particularly weird. I think that the Shaman is the deck that's the best against the Hunter.
Yeah. When it comes to Shaman and Hunter, they're fighting for not the worst.
And head-to-head, I think Shaman is really at an advantage there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do have Doppelgangster, and You know, I think that is very important for their victory. And they also have the Bloodlust. And sometimes Priest does not have the AoE. Do want to point out that this is not the Dragon variant of the Highlander Priest. They do have the traditional setup of Prophet Valen, a bunch of combos. I think the Circle of Healing already indicated that. But just for confirmation that they have the Galaka Crawlers and a few other odd tech cards here from Colorado.
I'm actually very surprised by Texas Tech not choosing to coin out the Primal Fin Totem on turn 1. Priest has a very low amount of removal for Primal Fin Totem, and they also had Jade Claws to potentially back it up.
Yes.
So if you coin out your Primal Fin Totem on turn 1, your opponent plays, say, a Galaka Crawler on 2, then you can use Jade Claws plus your minion to protect your Primal Fin Totem, and that makes your Bloodlusts really threatening. Your opponent needs to use potentially real removal on a board of just tokens, but by waiting, now they have access to coin to potentially, say, Doppelcoin Evolve, if they do pick up an Evolve, but it does mean that their Primal Fin Totem is much less protected.
Yes, it's great against pretty much anything at 3 health, which seems to be the big inflection point for a lot of Priest minions. Northshire Cleric, Radiant Elemental, Galaka Crawler, even following up on the terms, right? If you look at Curious Glimmerroot and Kazakus.
Well, there's another one.
So setting up the Primal Fin Totems are really crucial. And also it follows the curve too, because you had coin into a 2-mana play, 2-mana play that overloads for 1 totem, and then, like you said, set up for the Bloodlust.
Yeah, the fact that the Bloodlust in hand makes that the desire to accumulate tokens that much stronger.
Right.
And now they are behind against just a simple Galaka Crawler here.
Okay, looks like they're just going to kill off the Galaka Crawler then. And hey, more Murlocs.
Now they're getting even closer to completing Unite the Murlocs.
The quest shot. They shouldn't have mulliganed the quest. How long until that becomes viable, Killer? You tell me.
Ooh, Kazakus is pretty powerful here. I've tried. Believe me, I've tried.
I've seen you try.
A lot. There it is. I mean, it can win some highlight reel quality games. Right, Heart of Fire, I have to imagine they're looking for removal for totems here.
Yes.
Totems are the real power of Evolved Shaman against Priest, because Priest typically doesn't have a great time trying to fight for the board against Shaman if the Shaman is able to get down any kind of meaningful board presence. So typically you want to find removal spells that can deal with those. And they just allow the Shaman to continue to accumulate resources, and that's what's happening here. We're seeing the Primal Fin continuing to generate these Murlocs for Texas Tech. I mean, essentially, what ended up happening here... Ooh.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to calculate some math here of like what would have happened if they coined out the Primal Fin, having an extra 1/1. Because they ended up using the coin the following turn.
Right, they used their coin to protect their Primal Fin from a minion that it would have been protected from if they coined it out in turn 1.
Right. So they would have an extra 1/1. They'd still be in a position. They'd push 6 minions times 3, which is 18, plus the 3, so 21. And that's a position that you can win from, even if your board gets cleared on the following turn, because then you can just play Aya.
Right. I mean, and I think, honestly, what they should do is just Bloodlust next turn anyway.
Yes.
Especially with the second Bloodlust in hand. You just need to put the fear into the Priest player.
Oh, yeah.
And put them in a position, okay, well, you have to use your AoE on my dopey board of nothing.
That's also a reason why maybe if I'm Colorado, I'm thinking about Binding Heal.
It's not unreasonable. Get them.
Yeah.
Especially with 2 Bloodlusts. You've got to just get them.
I like the plan where I hit him for 15. I mean, Bloodlust doesn't get too much better for 5 minions.
You're doing 15 damage.
Yeah.
And this is a place where, in many cases, players will look, well, I don't have lethal, I don't want a Bloodlust. But no, they recognize, okay, it's not getting much better than this. We will 15 you. We will force you to deal with this motley crew of essentially a Primal Fin Totem and a Maelstrom. Those
hero power.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of nothing.
Ooh, Akanai potentially allows Akanai Circle to clear this board and leave them a minion on the board.
Yeah.
Rather than using Dragonfire Potion. which is actually pretty big, because Dragonfire is one of their best ways to deal with Doppelgangster Evolve.
Right.
Circle of Healing is less powerful at doing that because you're more likely to have multiple minions that you can't hit. And this also makes the Aya less powerful here because it can immediately be answered by the body on the board already.
Yeah, they have a silence for the IO as well. That's actually very efficient clear. They have silence, hero power, plus the Kazakus potion, which I believe was
It's 5
mana.
5 damage, 5/5.
Yeah,
It was a fierier elemental.
right. And now, having the patches, if you can't pull it out of your deck, at least you're able to utilize it in pinch situations like this. Force your opponent's hand to deal with the threat, because I think this sets up a soft lethal. Because you have 6 power on board, plus 9, so 15. And if your opponent gets a little lackadaisical, which they won't, because they have Kazakus potion as a 5 damage portal. Hard pressed not to pull the trigger here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Pyromancer is another strong draw here for Colorado, because it gives them an additional source of AoE that could potentially allow them to clear off, like a naked Doppelgangster that could come down to just throw Bloodlust. Also, the 5/5 here is huge. The fact that this is there's Evolve. Okay. Well, this could be Doppelvolve, but
right.
The 5/5 on the board means that even if and just the fact that there's Anduin Dragonfire in hand makes it difficult for even a very powerful Evolve to really swing this game.
So you can just play Aya Blackpaw and then Doppelgangster Evolve the following turn then. So you can set up for Aya to take out some removal. Yeah, they're going for it. The Evolve comes down. That's okay. You know what? Actually,
It's weird because that's actually not that bad.
You don't want it to get
because it can't get Anduin. None of your minions get Anduin.
It does still die to Dragonfire potion.
It
though.
does. You still end up getting your board wiped. Ultimately, the best thing you could get is like 3 Burgly Bullies. You just want three 4/6s.
I mean,
I'll take Spiteful Smith.
If we're talking, if we're being greedy, I want to have 3 Hungry Ettins against Priest. 4 10s, right?
I mean, I'm not trying to be greedy. And also you. I guess Burgly Bully you can't.
Wow, these guys are
it's
on
a 5. It's a 5-drop.
They
You
do.
can't even get a Burgly Bully.
Hey,
But
we're all
Hungry
deaths
Ettin,
here.
there we go. Yeah, I'm just making this up. It's not even possible to get a Burgly Bully. What do I know?
True that. I forgot the mana cost as well. They have Thrall Death here. It's going to be a Death Knight battle at one point. But I'm pretty sure it leans to the favor of Priest in the head-to-head.
Yeah, the big problem here is that given the way that things have just exchanged early on, Texas Tech is just so low in resources, and this Anduin here is going to, thanks to the silence, clear off the Aya and also allow them to just kill things every turn moving forward. Okay, that could be big. They can, if they hero power, they have 7 left. Now they can't hero power and Thing and Thrall, but they can Thing, Thrall. Obviously get their 2 in first.
I want the 9-mana minion from the Thrall. A lot of times you think about whether you want to play Thing from below after, but let's see what's behind evolution number 2.
Are there any beasts in their deck? Is it the Galaka Crawler?
Yeah, I'll do a little
Corridor Crawler.
do a little check.
Corridor Crawler's probably in their deck.
Oh, the Creeper, right?
Creeper, yeah, Corridor Creeper.
Let me think. No, it's not in their deck. They're not playing Corridor Creeper with Firefly patches and all that. They top out a Thing from below. They have 1 Aya and Barnes. They actually have no beast synergy.
Colorado doesn't know that.
What a waste.
How didn't they not know that they were going to get a Kathrena? Jeez.
It's a full board clear. Oh my gosh. It wouldn't have been.
Oh, they actually got a 2/2 from
Oh, you're
the
right.
Fryghoul.
You got a little 2/2.
Is it called just Fryghoul? I think it's Fryghoul. Oh no, there's
Nope.
it's dead because of the Raza. Yeah, it's Fryghoul. Look at that. I knew it. Ooh, they get a 3-drop. What could it be? Oh, all right.
Maybe another Eye of Black.
Go down the rabbit hole.
If they can survive that long. Looks like they're going to stick a Lyra on the board.
Yeah. I think we're just trading off the Wild Pyromancer so it doesn't get, you know, a bunch of damage to your own guys.
Yep, and then play Lyra.
I guess you could also just attack and kill your opponent's guy with it anyway. Just do 3 damage to their face, but you do get damage to your own guys that way. Not that it matters. It only means that your Lyra is vulnerable to Jade Lightning. It's probably not something you're too concerned about, but you're also probably not that concerned about getting the 3 damage in. Frankly, you're probably just kind of wondering, okay, what are we going to do, you know, later in the next game? Draggle's Joe, that's a number of minions to evolve.
You're right.
Sadly, it has to die, and they're probably just going to have to play something evolving. But
Unidentified elixir. Huh. Well, it turns out that's pretty good.
on Lyra.
Yes.
Missed 2 damage. Smork could have put it on Raza. Boom. Pirate.
More take candles.
I actually had never heard what that guy says. No more take candles.
Huh. All right, well, that is going to do it. And Texas Tech drops another game. The comeback is real. Colorado University down 0-3, wins 2 games in a row, with Priest finally being the anchor that it's supposed to, at least for this team. Now, again, we were kind of talking about how was Shaman the right pick in this scenario, and it could be, it could very well be Texas Tech investing into the future again, because they're saying we're so far ahead that we can afford to take some bad matchups and lose them as long as we can guarantee more favorable ones moving forward.
But did they do that? Did they put themselves in a position where they have a better matchup in their next game? And if we look at what the remaining pairing there is, it will be against the mage, their taunt warrior. And would they be better off having the evolved shaman there? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's tough to say. It's tough to say for sure. Now we look ahead and we focus on Shaman Warrior, very similar setup to the previous game, up against Rogue and Warlock. That's tough, I think.
It's like the all-star team versus the Island of Misfit Toys.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I just don't see, these classes don't really match up the way the metagame is right now. And we see people being like, well, do you know any Shaman decks or Warrior decks we can play? And then it's like, oh, well, how many different Warlock decks can you build that are all really good?
Yeah, it really is like a Joes versus the pros, like starring Seth Rogen and Zach Galifianakis, and Shaman Warrior versus Warlock and Rogue. It definitely does not feel very reliable.
You're gonna get Emilio Estevez in the Mighty Decks. Like it's gonna, rise up and beat the top metagame decks with a bunch of Shaman Warriors.
And it's not just any Shaman Warrior, it's the King Togwalker Warrior.
It is. And here it is. I still don't even know how this deck works.
Well, I know how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to King Togwoggle, set it up so that way you put them in a situation where you can Skulking Dice their Explorer and Goro, or waste their time tempoing out a 5-mana do nothing. But what do you do after that?
That's the thing. So this deck is a cycle, card draw cycle deck that looks to apparently win the game by playing King Togwaggle, exploring Goro, swapping decks so your opponent's deck is full of 1-cost spells, and then destroying it with Skulking Geist. But I still don't, because then they can just swap back with the ransom.
No, you play King Togwaggle, then exploring Goro so that you're doing that. So. So either they play with your bad deck, or you discover a win condition, or they swap back and you destroy it. Right? That's the idea. That you give them a bunch of cards like Armor Smiths, which won't help them win the game, but you can discover a win condition, and if they switch, you Skulking Geist them. That's the idea. But is it reliable, Kibler? Because we also feel like, would you rather play a deck full of Pyromancers, Shield Blocks, Armor Smiths?
Okay.
Or would you rather play Explorer and Grows?
Your magic shall not.
I'm just still not even grasping it.
Okay. So you play King Togwaggle. then you have a really awesome Control Warlock deck. Or Zoo Warlock. It looks. It depends on what
it's
you want.
Control Warlock here.
Yeah, but I'm saying hypothetically against Warlock.
Sure.
Then you play Exploring Goro and transform.
Well, no, you don't have it. I mean, you have to have Exploring Goro in your hand at that point. So you turn you turn their deck that you stole from them
into a bet.
into okay,
a bunch of Exploring Goro cards.
Okay,
and then they have to choose whether or not they want to win the game through Armor Smiths, Pyromancers, and Shield Blocks. And then you can discover a win condition.
At the point that you have done this, you have to have drawn Exploring Goro, King Togwaggle, and Skulkengeist.
Yes.
And I guess you switch back. You switch to them, and they don't have
a win condition either, because now their deck is just a bunch of Pyromancers and stuff. And then you can discover a win condition, and if they get desperate enough to switch, you Skulkengeist them. That's the idea behind it. I've never seen this work. I've seen a lot of people try.
I am just baffled by the thought process that led to this being the deck. You're like, you know what we're gonna bring to this high stakes $50,000 tournament is a deck that literally I'm just trying to figure out what it even does.
It's so funny because for a lot of games outside of Hearthstone, $50,000 is like the world championship level of prize pool, and these students are playing it, and they're willing to bring a Togwaggle thing. That's so humorous to me. They'd be willing to risk all of this. Now, granted that they need a lot of card draw to go for it, and they're right now pushing for 2 card draws at the Battle Rage. I feel like they could have taken a little bit more damage from this.
Well, in fact, I feel like they could have taken damage to make their Battle Rage better, period.
Yeah, that's definitely what I was thinking as well.
They actually just gave their opponents a bigger board because they made a void board.
Do you understand the process, though, at least what they're trying to accomplish? It requires a very elaborate setup.
I just have to see it happen.
Right.
I theoretically understand the goal of what's going on, but
there you go.
There he is, the king. I really don't even know what his entrance animation is. Like what he says.
I've only
what it looks like when you play him. I've never seen it.
I've seen King Togwaggle a fair amount of times in Dungeon Run. And he's already been played, and he is the hero that
I was gonna say I have seen him as my opponent in the end of a dungeon run. And he always gets Wand of Disintegration whenever I have a bunch of death rattles, and I want to punch him in his little kobold face.
Yeah.
But I've never seen him actually played in a non-dungeon game of Hearthstone.
Man, imagine if that was the case. He put a random treasure in your hand. You got Rod of Roasting in Standard. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Rod of Roasting, by the way, has a card that says cast Pyroblast until one person's dead.
Yeah.
And the targets are random.
My wife, Natalie, actually won her first dungeon run as a hunter where she had chosen double health twice, and the last treasure was Rod of Roasting. And she's like, what should I take? I'm like, you have like 100 health. Take that.
That's actually a statistically good pick.
Yeah, it's good.
Someone made like a spreadsheet.
It's just good at that point.
Someone made a spreadsheet of percentages. And if you have like a 30 or 40 health advantage, it's actually just like an 89% chance to win every time you play it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. In that case,
I will take it.
I will take it. Bone Marrow on 7 seems pretty good to me. If you look at the deck list of this warrior, this very weird Togwaggle warrior, they don't really have much. They have one brawl. That's how they usually deal with tall, wide boards. I guess they could sleep with the fishes and execute here. They're taking a lot of damage.
So, in your theoretical Togwaggle win world,
are you still trying
what happens if your opponent just draws Blood Reaver Gul'dan?
I'm not here to justify its existence. I'm just explaining what it is. I present the facts, you decide.
I still what even the facts are. They don't make sense to me.
The facts are that Warrior is about to die.
Red Warrior is about to die. Red Warrior needs a better game plan badly.
and Colorado might have a little less money for tuition next semester.
I mean, kudos to them for bringing this deck, because it is like a incredibly bold choice at this level of tournament, but I still just don't understand.
Well, it's not over yet. I mean, they haven't drawn their win condition in the Explore and Go. It's a one-of. Everything's a one-of. One Skulking Geist, one Explore and Go, one King Togwaggle. Here's another real problematic thing of where if those cards are in the very bottom of your deck, and you actually have no time to discover a win condition or threaten your opponent because you're on fatigue. There's no dead man's hand in it.
Well, no, because if you swap decks with them and then I guess you don't.
Yeah.
Do anything.
Because the whole point is that
and then
you
they're like, okay, swap back.
Yeah, you threaten to discover a win condition at that point.
How long can this go on?
Actually, wait, no, does that work that way? Let me think about it. I never
You're
actually
asking the wrong person.
No.
I still just don't understand.
Let's say it's Explore and Go and Skulking are cards number 29 and 30. You have no deck, and then you swap to their deck, and then you Explore and Go, and then they swap back, and then you destroy it, and both of you are on fatigue. At that stage, is this correct? My assumption?
I don't know.
And then who wins in the fatigue situation? Not you.
The guy with Blood Reaver Gul'dan. The guy who always wins every fatigue situation.
Oh man. I'm just trying to map it out here, okay? We can draw cards.
All roads lead to Gul'dan.
Let's draw cards first, shall we? Let's see what's behind some of these Acolyte draws. Hey!
All right.
I'm set to, I feel like we're going to see something here. I don't think Warlock can kill
Still not
fast
sure,
enough.
but
Now, look, shield blocks and whirlwinds and stuff can stall for a long time, excuse me.
okay.
And this Acolyte looks like it's going to draw another card. I feel like this win for Colorado should count as 6 wins. Just want to point it out, like automatic win series.
First of all, you're assuming that they would win.
Right.
I'm still just not convinced.
I'm saying if I did qualify the statement, if they win this game, they deserve all the victories, all the scholarships, and all the karma. They're even laughing about it. They're like, we're gonna be legends, man. Texas Tech is thinking about how in possible way can they lose from this. They're like, let's just not make the front page of all the forums, please. They're siphon souling an Acolyte. They're afraid. They're playing with fear. They don't want to let their opponent draw cards. They're actually respecting the deck.
I feel like I'm missing something. I really have.
They're not denying their card draw.
I have to be missing something.
No, Kibler, by all means, you are the sane one in this situation.
Because none of this makes any sense.
Well, they're still drawing regardless.
Well, they still have to find the other part of their 3-card win condition that I still don't, I'm still unconvinced does anything.
Well, okay, so in their mind, if they get Blood River, if Blood River Gul'dan is not drawn, this is a big thing. If Blood River Gul'dan is in the Warlock deck, and they swap decks and kill it, then they win in fatigue. Because they have a hero power that can armor up, and their opponents have no fatigue.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
So right now, they're trying to draw to the condition as fast as they can, and hope that their opponent's Blood River Gul'dan is in the bottom 10 cards. So if I'm Texas Tech, I'm also, well, if I didn't have Blood River Gul'dan, I would tap as much as I can aggressively to try and get to that point, because right now they're trying to win through that fatigue condition.
I wonder if they should just, I think they should just play Gul'dan now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Try and Void Lord or anything.
Yeah, they're disappointed. You can see Connor like, all right, okay, they had it. Okay, now once we're back, now I think we just play Explore and Go the moment we draw it, and then try to discover a win condition.
If Colorado wins from here, they just are literal Hearthstone gods. Like I just
they can. They actually can win through Explore and Go. If they have Explore and Go, they need to actually just discover win condition.
It could be a boat. It could be anything, right? Like that's just the thing.
Yes. It could even be a boat. I like that. Draw 3 cards. Let's go. And if not to draw and win, at least
there it is.
To show
Explore Ungoro.
Yeah, look, if they're not going to win, at least they want to show Kibler how it works.
Yeah, no, this should be like at least just an educational process where.
Right.
Oh, there's Rin.
Oh, yeah.
Who's going to destroy whose deck?
It actually takes only 1 card versus the 3-card elaborate combo from Warrior. You can just play Rin the First Disciple.
Also known as all of Togwaggle, Skulkengeist, and Exploring Goro in 1 card.
Is that the girl from the animation? Is that the girl from the animation that discovers the Hearthstone box and gets transported?
No.
Oh, okay.
You think she's like, I discovered the Hearthstone box in the snow, and now I am evil. I don't think that's the direction they're going.
I don't know. It kind of, it's, I'm not saying that all little tiny Pixar animation characters look alike, but they kind of do.
I mean, I really think that Texas Tech has to be just trying to figure out. Okay, I still don't understand what's happening. I feel like they're in the same spot I am.
No, I think they're very well aware of what's going on here. They're just trying to avoid losing at all costs. So Colorado's just gonna let it rip right now, right? They play King Togwaggle, Exploring Goro, destroy the 10 remaining cards. Let's go! Yeah!
All right.
Destroy the deck.
Boom.
And now, here's the thing. I think Warlock is okay with their deck being completely gone.
Right.
Because now they're like, well, do we really want to swap back? I think they don't care about it right now. They can wait a few turns and then swap back.
Right.
And then force their opponents to destroy and then start fatigue at the same time.
Yeah.
Because right now, if they swap back immediately, they start fatigue actually
swapping back
behind.
now is definitely a mistake. They want to draw those cards because they will. And frankly, this Armor Smith is certainly not bad.
My hunger grows.
They have 9 cards. They don't even have to play anything.
I
Just
must
chill.
feed now.
Okay, well, Texas Tech not playing the Armor Smith. A little bit surprising, I guess, given that I think Armor Gain is actually pretty valuable. Socket Slither,
Order low.
That's
Yeah, there we go.
yeah, definitely not the order they're looking for.
All right, what's in the box?
Let's go. Choose your. Wait, so what card can we discover here that can really help us? Sudden Genesis. Some damaged copies of your
All right.
you can draw a 5-cost Exploring Goro.
Sure.
They just can't pick up the they're laughing.
Uh-huh.
I think at one point, I think right now they're talking about like, so whose idea was it to bring this deck again? They're like, no, dude, totally. I played like 10 games. It was like an 80% win rate. This is why sample sizes matter, by the way.
I gotta move.
I mean, it's certainly cool. I still didn't. I wasn't even paying enough attention because I was talking during his entry, and I still don't know what he says.
Maybe.
King Togwaggle.
Yeah.
Is he even saying anything, or is he just muttering gibberish about treasure?
I mean, that's something. Are you suggesting that talking about treasure is not worth
I
listening to?
Speak Cobalt.
Oh, look, I can even use the shield slam. Because they still have the armor from Kultan. And they have an armor smith. They can shield slam.
Oh, I would consider shield slamming Rin to destroy their deck. Or maybe like trying to find a way to speed up the fatigue process.
I think that they just want to give beatdowns here. But yeah.
True, probably better. I was thinking about ways to be cute in this position. Like, if you destroy their Exploring Goro, then how do they actually win? They literally can't win if you have your own Abomination. But beating them down with Saga probably makes the most sense.
Just eat them. Yeah. Humph.
Okay, that works too. Okay. Try number 2. Arcanite Reaper.
See, if they had the King Mukla before, they could have gotten rid of the ransom.
The ransom.
They had to have a reduced cost King Mukla.
That's the ultimate order, LUL, I guess, in that case. They're just trying to stall for time here. Oh, wait. I know how. Wait, no, I don't know how. I was trying.
I know how.
I was trying to think like maybe
Well,
discovering.
actually, if they had played Mukla and then Brawl, they could have at least burned the seal.
Right. I was thinking of maybe if they discovered Dead Man's Hand and they went infinite through that.
Okay.
But then their opponents just swapped decks.
Sure.
And then
They discovered Dead Man's Hand,
dead.
play it, and they swap. And then, yeah.
Out of
they're dead.
cards.
And now they're on another time crunch because of the seals. That at a full hand, but it doesn't even matter. Okay, let's go again.
What's in the box?
I really, man. Yeah. That was thoroughly unsatisfying.
It is really amusing to me that this entire deck is built around a combo that like just does the same thing that Rin does, except not quite as straightforwardly.
It takes 3 cards in like 19 turns to resolve. It's just so bad.
And also, if your opponent has already just played like Gul'dan, you're
Oh my gosh. So terrible.
because when they draw the last card, they swap, and it's like, okay, now they have a deck full of Exploring Growers, but you're also in fatigue because you swap back. We've just both been killed. We've both been killed by this deck. Not like in the sense that we've lost it, but in the sense that it is ending our like will to like. All right.
I'm out of cards.
Burned that shield summon. They could have used it too.
Oh man.
So do you
I
just
need
swap?
to make up
Do
later.
you just swap back now? Now that your deck is empty. Here. Dan is just crying. He's just crying over here.
Oh man. Oh gosh. It's just. Oh man. Oh gosh. Whew. Yeah. Oh, they're so screwed. What do they do, man? They didn't.
I feel like realistically though, you do want to swap back when your deck is empty now, because now you just give them the option to actually discover something. Not that I can think of anything that would win the game, but it feels like once you have no cards in your deck, you might as well swap to the deck that has cards, and then at best your opponent can Skulk and Geist, and now neither of you have cards, but you have a board. And this is the sort of game where it really tests your ability to imagine all of the remote possibilities that could ever happen in Hearthstone,
Yeah.
and then just laugh about them because they're ridiculous.
Yeah. Spellweaver has synergy with Whirlwind, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I guess it does.
Oh man, I needed this. I was having a little bit of a rough week, man. With the Dungeon Run challenge and everything, I was stressed out beyond imagination. Thank you, Colorado University. Whew. That was therapeutic. Oh man, I need a nap before we come back on camera. I think my makeup's everywhere. Oh jeez.
So yeah, you final seal and then you swap decks.
Yeah.
Swap decks. We're gonna see Togwaggle. I hope King's Ransom. Why take their Exploring Goros? Oh, they had to play both of them. Never mind.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought they had to play. They only played one of them.
Oh man, is there one last hope here?
Ooh, Malagos. Next one they get Malagos Whirlwind. He's really upset. He's like, there was.
What were you
like,
expecting?
We're so unlucky. We didn't get Wand of Disintegration. We're playing Togwaggle. Don't we get to discover treasures? I don't know what he's looking for.
It's like dude in Malcolm in the Middle. I expected nothing, and I'm still disappointed.
Ooh, it reduced the cost of Azari.
Yeah.
If you swap decks, I'm actually curious. Now I wish they would just do this for science. If they swap decks, does the fatigue counter reset to the other player? Like, do they?
No, I think it starts.
Based on whatever cards you have drawn. So both decks have been destroyed this game.
Now the ransom just does nothing. Mally Whirlwind.
Boom. Good threaten.
Yeah. Good show. Jolly good show, Colorado. And that's going to be game number 6 in the books. As Texas Tech 2 games away from claiming the championship.
And the most important thing there is that the Togwaggle deck has now been eliminated. So Colorado will not be able to play that deck again, even if for some reason they wanted to.
Man. That is definitely a tragedy. And yeah, Fat Tiny Sheep is gone. So there's only 2 members of Colorado remaining, and I guess they'll have to take it seriously for the rest of the series.
I'm really, really curious, like, what the discussion was that led to this is what we're doing. We're bringing this Togwaggle.
So maybe it was one of those things where they all went home and then made their own list and then collaborated later, except they didn't actually check. They had to submit at the deadline. They're like, wait, whoa, you submitted the decks, right? And like, yeah, I got it, man. Don't worry.
I mean, Colorado is known for being a liberal state, so...
They're the first to certainly adopt the King Togwaggle. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, more action here at the TESPA Collegiate Finals. Welcome back, everybody, to the TESPA Collegiate Finals. We are live here in the studios, and of course, the players are also live. They battle out over the course of 7 weeks, and now we have 2 final squads remaining battle out for $50,000. And if you guys are just tuning in, you missed out on quite the hilarious game. I almost lost my mind. And now we're going to game number 7 with Colorado up against Texas Tech. We have Rogue versus Hunter. This is a matchup that I think Texas Tech is going to be happy if they had to play Hunter against a specific class. And that's kind of what the early stages are. It's prostrating, or it's posturing, excuse me, not prostrating. It's posturing.
Bow down before the King Togwaggle. Prostrate yourself before his greatness.
Oh, man. It's posturing yourself in a way so that way as the classes get eliminated and you have inevitable matchups, you want to be in the best position possible.
Yeah, and the Hunter deck, this aggressive build of Hunter, does have the ability to put a lot of pressure on that can keep the Rogue from getting to its big power spike turns later on. The introduction of Candle Shot in particular has allowed South Sea Deckhand to find its way comfortably into Hunter decks, and now you have just much more ability to get that early game damage in. You do still run the risk of falling apart against the backstab SI hands from Rogue. So Colorado will be looking for some of that early game removal. I think there's some temptation to keep Corridor Creeper here because it is obviously a powerful card. And I'm a little skeptical of that keep in this matchup. I haven't played this matchup from the Rogue side, but it feels like you need to find those tools to kill your opponent's early minions rather than trying to hit those power spikes of your own. You have the stronger mid to late game generally, so you need to just survive early on. And I feel like Corridor Creeper in the hand now is just going to kind of rot there unless they find removal.
Well, against Alley Cat, you know that Corridor Creeper will go down to 5. And if you have South Sea Captain and some trades, it'll go down to potentially 3 or lower. So I don't hate it.
Well, the time they actually just had the Tar Creep.
True.
But it is possible that, there's enough draws in their deck that makes the Creeper solid that my analysis does not pan out. Here, the Direwolf Alpha can allow the Hunter to push an additional point of damage, or they could just coin out Captain and get more pressure of their own.
Yeah, the Captain is the most pressure right now, and it also does... let's see, let me think. Does it hedge around the opponent's South Sea Captain? It actually doesn't, because then the 3/3 challenges the other 3/3. So it's not even that significant. So if you're doing that, you might want to set up for an optimal Houndmaster play, because South Sea Captain is pretty agnostic to the board state, versus Houndmaster and Direwolf are a little bit more dependent on it. We're choosing to go off curve here.
Yeah, this is particularly awkward given the combination of other cards in their hand. This does do the most damage right now. Ooh, backstab. Uh-oh.
Is that
Captain backstab. You can kill the opposing captain and kill both of the other minions. Yeah, you actually get to no, not both of the minions. You can leave one minion up.
right?
So yeah, the captain pulling patches. You backstab the opposing captain. You attack into your dagger. You kill the opposing cute cat. Well, you shouldn't kill the cute cat, but optimally, that's what you're going to do if you're going to try and leave your opponent without a crackling Razormaw target.
Do you kill the? So I guess you kill the beast. Yeah, it's better.
You certainly kill the beast, and this does leave you with a really significant advantage on the board already. You could even have the option of shadow stepping that patches to prevent the opposing patches from even having the opportunity to trade in. And now we see a second Cobalt Scalebane drawn, and this is what we've seen kind of Hunter life. You know, just losing the early turns to the rogue, and things just falling apart.
Oh, that's really painful. Backstab, either captain or creeper, and then you have. Oh, sorry, maybe captain and creeper.
You don't even need to backstab. You can just bump in and save your backstab.
Okay.
And play both creeper, both creepers if you want. You're playing as Hunter. They don't really have a great way to deal 1 damage to your captain past taunt. Or you can just try and go aggro.
Pirate's code.
I'm looking for a Galactic Crawler in the Hunter deck list, if any. That would be a reason to maybe bump the trade, or another reason to. But then you're playing the second captain, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Man. This is painful.
This is what happens when you don't have... Oh, God. Southsea deckhand here.
Yeah, it's almost like they shadow step to Keleseth, because you have 2 captains on the board, and that will most likely spell the end here. Hunter is blown out. That was a very fast Game 7.
It's not technically over yet, but this is 13 damage, and next turn is another more than that. Next turn is actually just lethal with the Southsea deckhand from the hand. You can play a single 5/5, but that's not going to be nearly enough to keep up with this. We talked a little bit about how the Hunter can sometimes capitalize on a little bit of the slower start from Rogue. It was the Hunter here who had the slow start, the vulnerable start, and Rogue who just explosively absolutely took the Hunter apart.
Man, they even had the Shadow Step for additional damage, too. So they had upwards of 25 or something this turn.
Remember when the Smork song said turn 7 lethal? That was like turn 6 lethal with tons of room to spare.
Yeah, and with that, yet another player has been eliminated in No Foolin'. No Foolin' has to walk off now, and Texas Tech will have to fight with just 2 players remaining. But that should even it up, at least in terms of the general discussion going back and forth. And now we set up for another set here. What classes are up here next for slot 2?
That is a good question. We're going to see it right here on the screen. It will be Tasty Nacho with Warrior up against Zephos' Mage.
Gotcha, yeah. So the Mage is it's a secret mage, I believe, right? And then Tasty Nacho.
Tasty Nacho, I believe, is playing the Quest Warrior.
Yes.
And then, as we see now, with No Foolin' eliminated, that means that all of Flame's classes are now unlocked, and he is back into the rotation. So he has a number of those power classes. He has the Warlock, he has the Rogue, and that Druid also did a lot of powerful work as well.
Yeah, and it's very crucially for Texas Tech. They also have 3 lives. 2 of them, of course, to Cowboys, the captain, with Rogue, Warlock, and Priest. So even if they drop 2 games in a row from Texas Tech's point of view, they still have a very good chance in the series playing 3 of the best classes. And that is why a lot of teams gravitate towards that early strategy of power loading onto one player in the event things go terribly wrong.
All right, this is, I'm curious to see the mulligan phase here from Texas Tech, because we saw similar sorts of matchups before, when there was the sort of burn-style Medivh Discover Mage that was played for quite a while in the previous metagame, when Taunt Warrior was one of the most popular decks. Very often we saw Taunt Warrior players mulligan the Quest because they wanted to find more ways to defend against early game minions, as well as more armor generation, and you couldn't really afford to give up your hero power to get Sulfuros, and you need to sort of win the game with mid-range beefy minions more than anything else. It's always a tough matchup regardless, but I think it's potentially even more difficult now because there's so much more burn available to the mage deck, along with Aluneth to really allow them to reload.
Well, yeah, now you have explosive and to shut down any early game.
And now there's the threat that this is just a counterspell into your turn quest. Do you just play your quest on turn 1 and just hope it's not a counterspell?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's going to go ahead and play the Whirlwind. He's like, all right, well, this both removes the threat, which is probably better than developing the quest right now anyway, and ensures you don't just walk your quest into a counter. Now, Arcanologist was a fortunate draw for Colorado here. With their rest of their hand was fairly low impact, especially with that Frost Nova, which is more or less useless in the matchup.
So now they have eliminated the possibility of counterspell. Can be explosive runes. Let me see if they run the ice block lists as well. They do have one singular ice block.
And
so
here
they can account for both of those possibilities.
I think that Texas Tech recognizes that their Armorsmith is one of their very important cards. They need to use Armorsmith with Whirlwind effects later on in the game in order to ensure that they are able to generate large amounts of armor to counter the burn that the Colorado is going to be able to throw at them. So yeah, they don't want to just play their Armorsmith here. They just decide to play their quest on turn 2. Oh, there is Aluneth for Colorado. Probably their most important card. Goes for the Glyph, recognizing that they don't want to play Counterspell. Ooh.
There's so many good options here with
both of these are fantastic. I think the Firelance Portal may get the nod, if only because they have Aluneth, and they want to be able to curve 5-cost Portal into 6-cost Aluneth, and the Pyroblast, when you're drawing 3 cards a turn, is actually pretty clunky even at 8 mana.
Yeah, if I am... Oh, man, I guess because I don't know if I'm the Quest Warrior. I don't know if Aluneth's been drawn yet. With Aluneth being drawn, it almost doesn't really matter how big your taunt wall is. It kind of matters about how fast you can race your opponent.
I like the pick of Mogashan Warden there. Mm-hmm. It is a minion that absorbs all of the damage from Explosive Rune.
That's right, for only 1 more mana, you can absorb and keep a minion on the board, or you can have the Silverback Patriarch, which is slightly insulting being picked off the Stonehill Defender, I guess, in that case.
Every time I pick a Patriarch off of Stonehill Defender, I'm like, how the never quite mighty have fallen. Yeah, look at that. More rubbing salt in the wound. No Brigade Infantry.
Yeah, that's a card I've been seeing a lot in the Tavern Brawl.
Just rubbing it in.
Yeah.
Poor Patriarch.
Wow. We have as you can tell, our production guys do play Hearthstone.
They do.
They were on point.
Maybe
Ilmagarn Infantry.
No.
You have to play a lot of Hearthstone to just be able to, out of the blue, in seconds, pull up just a strictly better than Silverback Patriarch. Though, to be fair,
Not strictly better.
it's a beast.
It's a beast.
It's a beast.
Yeah. And sometimes off my Death Stalker Rexar, I am happy to see a Silverback Patriarch.
Yeah, it's absolutely true.
hide from me.
Yeah, that's not true.
That's not even...
It's just another 1/4
That's
for
just a
3.
different card.
Are we just pulling up 1/4s for 3 now? How many can we do?
Oh, man. I don't know if I can even name another 3-mana 1/4 card right now.
All right, the Alley Armorsmith. This is going to get Fireballed away. I imagine Fireball is going to come down and clear the way for these minions rather than playing Aluneth here, because the Alley Armorsmith sticking does represent a lot of life gain and damage prevented for the warrior.
Yeah. This Fireball is actually doing like 10
Right,
damage.
this Fireball is doing an outrageous amount of damage by clearing right now. Then you still have the opportunity to Aluneth the next turn.
Right.
And yeah, 10 damage gets in. And not that much life remaining for the Taunt Warrior here. You know, down to just 9. Or 8, rather. 10. All those numbers are close to 10.
Yes.
There was a part of my brain that was like, oh, they're going to ping their face 2 after they ping the Armorsmith. And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm off by 1. And then it just went the wrong direction.
It's just not a lot of life remaining, no matter how you cut it.
I think my brain is just still melted from King Tom.
I'm surprised that I even have functional motor skills after watching that game. I felt like my lips were breaking. Moving to the side. Warrior does have some life gain to stall, but even if they gain 10 life, there's 10 on the board. What they really need to do is to stick a taunt and have a Armor Smith tucked behind it. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
Maybe. No.
Man, I think the hatchling is actually the best case scenario here, because what are you even expecting off this shield block?
I gotta move.
Well, they gain 10. That basically just negates the single attack from the next turn from Colorado. Attack for 10 damage. Then you have Lackey and Alaneth if you want to just get even more on the board. And they could just hold off on the Lackey to reduce the cost of a secret and not provide their opponents with a weak minion that could survive a brawl. Leroy, so much burn.
That is the Trinity special. This is what Team Lovey Lots has used to crush their opponents. It was a Leroy Jenkins Ice Block Frost Nova package, so that way they can just set up more ways to kill their opponents. Of course, highlighted by a really cool interaction of filling up their opponent's boards with the
Leroy,
wells.
and then
Noble Sacrifice got stopped. It was a really cool moment. Brawl does not go their way, and that is
That's
death.
lethal. Fireball to the face, and that was a quick one to even things up at 4-4. And now Texas Tech loses their second player.
That's right.
Will be just the Cowboy who rides alone.
Man, imagine if Colorado didn't bring Dogwalker Warrior. Well, actually, we don't know if they'll win the game, but if they did have Quest Warrior, for example, they would have been, I think, in a pretty decent spot against the Control Warlock. For example, they would have been at least much better positioned in the matchup spread. But now we go into game number 9, tied 4 games apiece, and now the best of 11 has come down to who can win 2 games out of the next 3. Now, granted that it's different because we do have 2 members remaining for Colorado Boulder, but we do have only Cowboys remaining, and Cowboys has to play Rogue. So Flame, because it's unlocked every class, can target that, and because they have a more aggressive Druid, that is their best chance for Colorado to gain the lead in this series.
Yeah, this is definitely seeing the all the best class strategy kind of a little bit cornered because he only has the one that is available now. So with the ability to just target that rogue immediately, gives potentially the advantage in this game to Colorado, and then they just need to win one more.
Yes. So after this, then Cowboys can play anything they want against Hunter, Priest, and Mage. And when we get to that, it'll most likely come down to one of the more powerful classes and less like the Hunter stuff. But for now, Flame has to focus everything that he has and try and target down Cowboys Rogue as best as he can. And Aggro Druid is one of the best at doing so. And also, how much will Texas Tech, a team that's very dependent on the friendships, and when we kind of like half-jokingly talk about what it's like to play Hearthstone with friends and compete with them, the reality is, too, is that they kind of were in this together, and they were talking about how much of a deficit it was to lose one of their teammates early in the semifinals. And now we have one player remaining from Texas Tech, and just from the body language alone, you can tell about the intensity of the situation.
Yeah, things have definitely gotten serious. We saw them laughing through all the previous rounds, but now the pressure is on. If Cowboys loses this one, he's in a bit of a bind.
Yeah, it's all fun and games when you fireball your face with your friends, but when you do it by yourself, it's pretty tilting.
It is a little bit more awkward when you were the only one up there, and it is clearly your fault. Ooh, the Galaka Crawler in the opening hand for Colorado here.
It's gonna be
you
big.
see Swashbuckler.
Oh man, they have Galaka Crawler and Mark of Yasharaj. That is quite the 1-2 setup. Lesser Jasper Stone gonna be, I guess, decent removal option. But yeah, snap call. No need to discuss this.
I mean, there is the backstab that, along with the dagger up, can remove the Galaka from the board.
You can also just Jasper Stone, I guess.
Yeah, that's also an option. You could preserve your patches here, but I don't think preserving your patches is particularly compelling.
Yeah.
You potentially use the Jasper Spellstone to trigger combo later on, or just use it in combination with backstab to kill something else.
Yep. Power of the Wild here, just play as the 3/2 Panther is okay.
And here, Backstab Creeper is available.
Ooh.
So you even after the Galactic Crawler, this is just a 5/5 on turn 3.
Yeah, and Glock Crawler's already been used, so South Sea Captain and the Deckhand combination is also pretty powerful on turn 4.
Especially with that, you have the Spellstone as well. So
Yeah. I'm not hating the position that Cowboys is in right now.
there is a Corridor Creeper on the opposing side of the table that could come down to try and even up the score. But you actually Deckhand plus your dagger and the Spellstone can just take down this creeper. So there's only a single 5/5 on the board.
Yeah, that sets up for the best Cobalt Scalebane. The mana usage is also pretty efficient for you to re-dagger as well, which against aggro druid is pretty relevant. Being able to have those little ticks of damage can help turn the tides of the board.
Yeah, and Cowboys goes for exactly that play. Decides to keep his creeper around. He has creeper advantage.
Well, there is another creeper waiting.
It's true, but his is bigger. He is the bigger creeper. All right, and actually the Dire Moles fits into the curve alongside Tar Creeper if Colorado wants to set that up.
Yes.
Which enables the potential for a Mark of Yasharaj on it, but they also have living mana. So, potentially they may decide that they don't want to, use their Dire Mole here and just set up for the living mana next turn. They could also just, looks like they're going to go ahead and just Mark of Yasharaj here. Okay.
That's interesting.
This does set up a similarly set up a 3/5, though one that can attack and doesn't necessarily just get huffed on. I mean, I suspect that we'll just see this get killed anyway.
Right.
I think that the rationale here is that if it's just going to die, they might as well just let it die here, get the card draw, dig themselves deeper into their deck, potentially find their own, something that can give them their own patches that they could use to kill off the opposing minions that are going to be coming out at this point.
Yeah. So if they played Tar Creeper and it got eaten, then they play Living Mana, and then it's a 1/3 gets eaten too. So I think that's probably why, but they are playing a little bit off curve, and now Rogue's trying to find a little pocket to get really aggressive.
Well, the South Sea Captain does generate patches, and they have a buff they can play alongside it.
Power of the Wild. Right.
That would let him, let them potentially clear the Scalebane and keep their Dire Mole around, but it would just die to dagger at that point anyway. So it's definitely a tough spot.
Yeah. Oh man, actually, I wonder if not playing the Tar Creeper and then having like more flexibility with their options is now costing them.
Yeah, because they just took a ton of damage here.
Yeah,
and there isn't a ability for them to kill this this Corridor Creeper.
Well, there is, just not
efficiently, right? Yeah. They need to commit quite a bit. Where with the other possible line of play, they would have just had to play a possible.
Ooh, some greed.
All right, they're gonna try and keep that 1 health.
So what they're trying to do is use Tar Creeper to lock out the Rogue, like make them overcommit to how much they're trying to race, and then eventually utilize Tar Creeper as a roadblock to finish off the game.
I mean, this is just Captain and Edwin to dagger down your Dire Mole, 8 to the face.
Set up lethal.
Right.
And then you have Tar Creeper, and then you die next turn? Could they just dagger Leroy?
I believe the die next turn is what's going to happen here.
What just happened? I feel like Aggro Drew was in a really good spot. And then they don't even get a chance for the living mana followed by Mark of the Lotus, which usually wins the game.
Yeah, I feel like the Tar Creeper into Dire Mole, that turn where they just played the Dire Mole into Mark of Yasharaj, may have set them up into a better situation because they wouldn't have just taken a bunch of damage up front.
Right.
They would have had the option to Mark of Yasharaj trade the Dire Mole into the Creeper if they wanted anyway, or could just play Living Mana that turn because they hadn't taken so much damage.
Job's done.
Well, now they're in desperation mode, but it doesn't matter. Leroy just ends the game straight up. This was definitely not the scenario that Colorado wanted whatsoever, and Texas Tech takes a massive victory.
And this is particularly big because this is the game that allows Cowboys to unlock his full lineup. So now the power of the loaded up individual player having all three of the top classes that are generally recognized in the format is really brought to bear because now he's down to one-on-one and he has all of the strongest decks.
Yeah, and Flame also just got eliminated too from Colorado Boulder, so now it just comes to a mano-a-mano battle for the championship. It's kind of what you want to see. It definitely gets a little bit intense, but Cowboys, huge advantage because his lineup is just looking very strong up against what Ziphos has. He has Warlock, he has Rogue and Priest up against Hunter, Mage, and Priest.
And he also has both lives remaining. Ziphos not only has to beat this murderer's row of classes, but has to do it twice before losing a single game.
Yeah. Now there is the condition still exists where once you play a class, you can't play it for the rest of the series at this point. So if you play Priest, if you're Cowboys, or if you're Ziphos, then the last potential game, you can't play Priest on either side. So you have to also budget out, like, what am I going to win with now? What's my best chance to win for game number 11 if it comes down to it?
And it feels like this is really what the Texas Tech plan was all along. They wanted to get the power lineup of Cowboys, into a showdown at high noon with one opponent who has just worse decks than he does.
Yeah, I mean, granted that the combination of decks from Ziphos is not necessarily that terrible. They have Priest and Secret Mage. And Secret Mage does have game against other priests.
Absolutely.
Even the Warlocks. So it's not an unfathomable thing to think Colorado can take 2 in a row here with 2 decks and just ignore their Hunter. Mm-hmm. So based off of that, this could really come down to what mind games are set up. It's almost very similar to what you kind of talk about Conquest. Like, oh, if I play this, then my opponent has a 50% chance of landing this. So in this case, usually playing the best deck is available, and or is the best strategy. And I think Priest on both sides might end up coming down to the wire.
I wonder if, from Cowboys' perspective, he has Rogue, which I think is good or at least solid against all of Ziphos' decks. You can argue that maybe the Priest has a good matchup against Rogue, but I think at best that's even-ish.
It's slightly in Rogue's favor according to data.
I think, well, the data I think may shift obviously with the new inclusions of cards. I actually don't quite recall if Ziphos is playing the Dragon version or the more traditional version off the top of my head. But also, some of the shifts, Corridor Creeper, for instance, is a card that's great in grindy creature matchups. A lot of stuff's dying. Mm-hmm. It's weaker against Priest.
True. Especially Priest that can just shuffle back in your deck, and then you just have to play for 7 mana again. He is playing the normal Razakus Priest. Mm-hmm. Nothing, no dragons. Straight up, a lot of removal. Alkanite Soul Priest, Galactic Crawler.
And the Alkanite Circle and such is definitely powerful there, but I feel like the Duskbreaker is probably better in the matchup overall compared to the Cycle build, at least against aggressive decks.
Yeah, so in the head-to-head...
the head-to-head will be Priest here, so...
Yeah, in the head-to-head Priest mirrors, I actually do favor the Prophet Valen Burst, primarily because they are much more cycle-intensive, and the Dragons is much more control-intensive. It's more about controlling state of the board. You have Duskbreaker, you have Primordial Drake. You do have also combos, but your combos are much more conditional. You have to set up Alexstrasza, hope they don't heal, and then burst them down. And you don't even have the 20 plus that you have from Prophet Valen. And then you combine with the fact that Highlander Priest, the normal Highlander Priest, is so good at drawing because they have Circle of Healing in their deck as a potential way for synergy with Northshire Cleric, that in my experience, in my past few days of laddering, whenever I played Dragon Priest, I got blown out in the mirror. Well, not the mirror, but the head-to-head against Highlander Priest. I actually played, and Kimber was sitting right next to me, I played against the most outrageous version of Highlander Priest, which wasn't Highlander at all. It played 2 copies of every single draw possible, and it confused me. And then it held Raza, the chain, until he drew his 25th card. He was holding it for 10 turns and finally played it. And then he drew 10 more cards than me, and then I ended up losing because of that.
And this, I think, is an interesting deviation from the typically accepted strategy in most Kazakus Priest mirrors. The Radiant Elemental on turn 2 is usually not something you tend to see because it's so key to the late game Velen burst. However, Cowboys, as you mentioned, playing the Dragon version, doesn't have the same utility from that card in the later turns.
Yes.
So he wants to get a little bit of pressure in right away.
Yeah, the pressure can matter if you're ending up playing tempo styles. And Dragon Priest small edge, from my experience, is being able to leverage the fact that a lot of priest removal are bad against dragons.
Right.
Twilight Drake's really powerful, as always, 4 mana, 4 attacks, with high health. And then Dragonfire Potion doesn't clear Dustbreaker and Scalebanes and Draconet Operatives. So if you're able to load up enough tension onto the board, that's how you can win, just by simply bulldozing as if you're a mid-range deck.
Silence can potentially
It's a good card.
prevent a card draw from Acolyte if he wants. The Curious Glimmerroot's the real power card here because it challenges both minions at once on the board. And finds himself a free Anduin.
Yeah, that is the strength of the Curious Glimmerroot in this matchup. A lot of times people are hard mulliganing for Anduin or Raza, but it's about the same odds with Curious Glimmerroots that you're just fishing for a card anyways in their deck versus yours. And then you have a 3/3 to play on 3.
He's just bobbing along down there. I think, is he listening to music?
No, he's just feeling good. He's just getting
He's just
his
feeling, he's like, oh yeah.
He knows he's favored.
Oh yeah.
He knows he's favored, and he hit a really important target with the Curious Glimmerroot. And now he just has to make sure that his opponent doesn't out-tempo him. I think there's almost... it's almost an insurmountable lead if this game goes a lot longer than... the way I'm trying to face it. The longer the game goes, the more he's favored.
Yes.
So at this point, he's feeling really comfortable because the games tend to drag on a lot. It's hard for Dragon Priest to close it out unless they curve perfectly or they draw into Raza and Shadow Reaper Anduin very early on.
Well, Cowboys has the Raza already, and he has the Scalebane. And the Scalebane is a very big threat because, as we mentioned, a lot of the priest removal does not deal well with dragons. We see the Dragonfire Potion in the hand. There is, of course, the borrowed Shadow Reaper Anduin, but that does take at least a little while after the Scalebane can do some damage before it can come down.
Be this cake.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
All right.
Now we have a real game here. The big limiting factor is, can Texas Tech and Cowboys draw enough to support the Shadow Reaper Anduin rushdown play? And this early game damage that you're kind of talking about early on with the Radiant Elemental surviving 3 turns, even though your opponent's not too much, they didn't take too much damage at 28, the amount of pressure that was able to build early on to stack this advantage, did it lay a big enough foundation for Texas Tech to make a push here?
Yeah, at this point, right now, Colorado and Xiphos does not have a way to kill the Scalebane. He needs to go fishing for something, potentially with the Shadow Visions, and that's exactly what he's going to do, using his Radiant to try and find Death so he can play Death, and he does not find Death.
Okay, Psychic Scream is another possibility here.
It is, though, by the point that you can Psychic Scream, you may just be able to Anduin anyway, but I think it's still just possibly just the best option.
Right.
Though, given that he has his own Anduin plus Velen in hand, there's some argument for taking perhaps Binding Heal or Circle of Healing for that burst or healing of your own.
Yeah, the only thing is that Psychic Scream can be played next turn, and you have to wait another turn for Anduin, and Dragonfire Potion is not reliable on 6 against this board. But if I'm Cowboys, I'm feeling pretty good. Scalebane went unchecked, and he fished for a long time to try and find a Shadow Visions target. And, I mean, Raza is looking really good in this spot. Because Dragonfire only clears 1 minion, you're still pushing 5 damage. Or I guess you clear the Radiant Elemental, so you're not pushing.
Yeah, I think you want to take down Radiant Elemental. It does, if your opponent does get Psychic Scream, which is one of the best answers to your board, it forces them to coin at least to use Psychic Scream rather than have the cost reduction of Radiant Elemental.
Yeah.
Now, gonna go ahead and take it out, heal up Scalebane, and
It's doing so much work.
big board here. I mean, are we going to see a coin Psychic Scream here to just get these off the board?
I actually think you accept a lot of this damage because you have Shadow Reaper Anduin the next turn.
It's true.
I don't know if you want to take 13.
That's a lot.
I might consider dumping.
How good is the Dragonfire? Dragonfire at least kills Raza.
Right.
So that you don't have to worry about that. You only take 5. Though you do it at a weird spot that your opponent can set up to get a minion that's going to be buffed by the Cobalt Scalebane if you put yourself in a position that you're essentially forced to play Anduin. For instance, next turn, if Cowboy just plays Novice Engineer and just Novice Engineer as a minion, if you Anduin, it does leave a 4-attack minion in play.
Right. That's pretty clever, actually. He just passes. Okay, so this is a very obvious Anduin setup. Right?
Yes.
And in which case, if you're Cowboys and you're in Texas Tech's position, do you do exactly what you talked about?
I think I like just playing Novice. You give yourself a 50-50 on having a minion that survives. Worst case scenario, you see what you draw from Novice at least.
Right.
Because if you play more minions, for instance, if you play Loot Hoarder and the Novice, there's a chance that the Loot Hoarder just gets buffed and then you don't have any real threat. Maybe you don't care enough, you just want to play the Loot Hoarder to get you through your deck if it does die. But I think with the Anduin in play in Raza already, you just want cheap spells anyway. So yes. I think that you just do this and don't play anything else and hope that you hit your Novice. He didn't hit Novice. Yeah, I love this play from Cowboys here.
Yeah.
Recognizing that exactly Anduin is coming down.
Job done.
So he doesn't get 3 extra damage. But the important thing is now Cowboys can get his Anduin online as well.
And Cowboys has Raza already.
Right.
Ziphos does not have Raza. He has Anduin, and it was a powerful Anduin because it cleared part of the board. But he has to spend that mana to get the damage every turn, whereas Cowboys is just firing away whenever he plays anything.
Yeah, Ziphos has to go digging. Okay, Loot Hoarder's okay. You can cycle through that. I guess you don't expect most Dragon decks to play Potion of Madness, so you can just play the Loot Hoarder. So let's count the damage over the course of a couple turns here. Texas Tech has 4 damage guaranteed, plus 4 cards they can play, so that's an extra 8. 12. They need to pick up like a Mind Blast and then they can finish the game, but right now it doesn't look like they have a 2-turn lethal setup. Because this is most likely going to get cleared.
Yes. Yeah, there is the Psychic Scream, which was Shadow Visioned many, many turns ago, which can provide a nice answer to this Twilight Drake, which is really threatening. Colorado down to just 13, and they have no healing in their hand whatsoever.
Yeah, and we mentioned that this was the way Texas Tech can win this matchup, even though it's not a huge edge, considering that there is the possibility of getting the Shadow Reaper Anduin and Raza. It's the fact that they were able to get us so early and have board tempo. They had it all, essentially, and they have just enough card draw to threaten the Shadow Reaper Anduin on the other side.
All right, so not going to go ahead and use the Psychic Scream, holding on to that.
Okay. I think this is fine.
This is somewhat interesting because it does mean that they don't have cheap spells to potentially try and burst with if they do find Raza. Like, casting the Psychic Scream leaves you with a bunch of cheap things that you could potentially play to try and just burst your opponent down.
They need Binding Heal right now with Valen in order to survive. Cowboys is 1 turn away from potentially ending this. Lyra is something, and I'd be tempted to start throwing her into the mix here. I really want Lyra to pick up some way to heal myself.
I mean, we talked back when Ziphos took the Psychic Scream, that, you know, the way that his hand was shaped up, you know, with the Anduin, he hasn't played that Psychic Scream. He could have had Binding Heal in that spot, and Binding Heal at this point would be 10 life to give him a ton more time.
It's definitely been a lesson or a takeaway that I've had today, where a lot of times, even if you pick up a high value option, there might be something better in the future that you might need. And Ziphos just plays a Tar Creeper, recognizing that he has a good chance of just being dead right now.
Cowboys actually have to pick something up here. Okay, Silence will do it. And there it is. So the Shattered Pain, the Silence, and the Historian, the shotgun continues, machine guns him down, and it will be Cowboys and Texas Tech who win the TESPA Collegiate Hearthstone Championship.
The South has risen again. Congratulations to Cowboys and the crew. Once again, friendship has prevailed, and we ourselves a winter-fall champion here for the TESPA Collegiate Finals. Congratulations to Texas Tech University. A big shout out to Colorado University as well from Boulder. They did a great job, but the moment belongs to the friends who've been playing for years together. They competed in sports, and now they're competing in Hearthstone, a trio of freshmen who've been together since middle school. It's a very heartwarming story, if you will.
And they started off the tournament fireballed themselves in the face.
That's right. And laughing about it.
And yeah,
which shows that they truly are friends. But sometimes high stakes, it gets really intense at that point.
If you had not known someone essentially your entire life, you were playing for $50,000, they fireballed themselves in the face, you'd probably get a little more upset than they did.
That's right. They also get a couple of nice little giveaways too, like the shirts and stuff that's given to them for participating. And also just another closing of a great program here at TESPA. $50,000 in scholarships is definitely something great too, considering that they love playing Hearthstone. There's a lot of collegiate players that enjoy competing as well in Hearthstone anyways, and why not meet people like-minded who have shared similar hobbies and also earn some money doing it. So really happy with them. I also really thought that they played pretty well in that series. If you look at, all jokes aside with King Togwalkle, I think the technical play from Texas was rewarded very often, and so we're really happy to see that. Texas is waiting with us for a brief interview. So right now, the champions of the fall season 2017, how are you guys feeling about your victory?
Oh, we're feeling great. We're feeling bad because we could have played a little better in a lot of those games, but we got the job done, so we're happy with the result.
Absolutely. Now let's take a step back because the competition's been really intense. What were you guys thinking about when your opponent were playing King Togwaggle and the Explorer Ungoro? Because you guys were taking a long time on some of your turns, so we weren't sure what you guys were debating about.
Yeah. Well, so at first we didn't know all we knew about that deck was that it had King Togwaggle in it, and we thought there was some kind of combo. But then when we realized that his deck didn't have a combo, we just kind of figured out that we probably won.
Yeah,
we had no clue what to do.
We were feeling very similar, just sitting here laughing, had no idea, how to handle the situation.
the combo is the settings button and the red concede.
So in the end, the match came down to kind of a 1v1 between Cowboys and Zixos from the Colorado team. Was that sort of your strategy? Because you did have many of the generally considered most powerful decks concentrated just on your lineup.
Yeah, our strategy was to not let me die, so he put me last and gave me the 3 best decks. And yeah, I guess it's pretty good in this format. We didn't really know how to play this format at all. It was really weird. We had 2 days to prepare for it, but it turns out that strategy seems like it's pretty good.
Actually, why don't you go ahead and comment a little bit on that format? TESPA has been playing with all different kinds of formats throughout the seasons. Any thoughts initially about how this was, both in terms of preparation and playing it?
It was really fun. I like that all the matches before the finals were normal because it's what you see in HTT and stuff. And it is cool that we had something different for the finals, but it is kind of annoying sometimes if a player gets knocked out, but it was interesting. So.
All right, and the final question I want to ask is, since you guys are also very good friends and you've been competing for a while with each other, how do you guys plan to celebrate such a big victory to be able to win the entire season for Texas Tech?
Oh, well, we're going to go home tonight and probably go online, use half the money on all our textbooks, and then the other half on Hearthstone packs.
Good man. Make your entire quarter creepers golden, I guess, at that point. With that, let's go ahead and welcome Alex from Blizzard, who is the product manager of TESPA and really helped put all this together, to officially congratulate our winners, Texas Tech University, for the fall 2017 season. Take it away, Alex.
Hey, thanks, Rodan. On behalf of the Hearthstone and TESPA team, I'd like to present these trophies to you guys. Congratulate our 2017 fall Hearthstone Collegiate champions, Texas Tech University.